Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works. Anyone that has a speaker card on any item, please turn in the speaker cards on any items that you would like to speak on prior to the introduction of that item as it affects the ability to manage the meeting. We are here on this Friday morning, July 22nd, 2016. Mr. Campos.
Commissioner Davis, James, Repenning, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning. Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning. Kimberly Fitzpatrick, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning. Henry Yuan, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning. Michael Patnay, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning. Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we received speaker cards under general public comment. We do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. And we also received speaker cards on items 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13.
Okay, we'll close the comment section for neighborhood councils. Our first item of business, the approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, June 27, 2016. Commissioner Penning has seconded my motion that we approve those meeting minutes. Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. A couple of housekeeping items. Agenda items 2, 3, and 4. Let me make sure I've got those right. 2, 3, and 4 will be continued, colleagues, to actually taken off calendar for now. They'll be continued to an upcoming date. Our board office is working with the council office and the applicant regarding certain aesthetics issues related to the subject above ground facilities, and we need a little bit more time to do that. Is that a fair characterization, Commissioner Jacinto? Okay, great. So those items will be taken off calendar to be to a date to be determined. Agenda item, let's go to number 13. Is that on our supplemental? Yes, our supplemental. That's a tree removal in Council District 8 that we had on Wednesday. Continued to today to give us some additional time as a result of the speakers that appeared to communicate with the council office in CD8. I've had some preliminary communications with the council office in CD8. I know that Commissioner Davis and Mr. Campos will be communicating with CD8. And I also got information back from the Bureau of Street Services. There are some funding deadline issues. So because of that, colleagues, we would like to continue in consultation with CD8. We'd like to continue the item to only a week from today, Mr. Tyson, which will be Friday, July 29th. So, Commissioner Davis, just so you know, there is time to work with with CD8 and the resident that appeared. But it's a limited amount of time because of the funding deadlines. Okay, so for agenda item 13 on supplemental, Mr. Campos, that'll go to Wednesday, July 29th, okay? So I think that's all the housekeeping items that we have. We do have a presentation. You have a speaker card on what? 13 is being continued. Yes. We do have a presentation. The Mayor's Hire LA's Youth Program and the Bureau of Sanitation's Summer Introduction to Engineering and Sciences, that's the SITES program. Mr. Simpson from the Bureau of Sanitation on our presentation this morning. Morning, sir.
Good morning, President James and board members and our Bureau Executive. We're glad to be here this morning. This year, it was a great campaign by LA San. We had 23 students for the summer internship program.
How
We
many,
had
Mr. Simpson? How many?
23
23,
students.
okay.
And we had 140 applicants for this program, so it's growing very popular. And most of these students sitting here today have 3.8 GPA average, grade point averages, which is a lot more than what I had going to high school. So they're a tremendous student. Each student received training and exposure on the following environmental topics. We want to make sure when they come to LA San, they see some of the topics that we're wrestling with, and maybe they can bring some new ideas as they matriculate to school. One, they saw about our One Water program, creating a sustainable water system. We want to let them know that we don't want to rely on import sources. They're going to have to develop sources we can use here. They saw our zero waste program, because we have an ordinance coming up where we have to get all the organics out of the landfill. They also were introduced to green infrastructure, and we took them to the Ed P. Reyes Park, one of our award-winning projects. They also would be exposed to sewer science, learn how we collect sewer water, clean and purify it, and reuse it. They also, each student would be having a field trip to Hyperion for a tour of the plant, and of course our famous ELC Center. We plan to continue to support this program. We're going to develop a pipeline from high school to college where local, diverse students can compete for city jobs. Our director, who's here today, working with the mayor's office, have taken steps, and this is one of them, to create opportunities for local Los Angeles residents, oftentimes in underserved communities, to participate and compete for city jobs. Right now, with our high school program and the student engineer program, we're definitely taking steps to make a pipeline a reality. We're one of the few entities in the engineering community that has taken on this endeavor of giving young people from high school a chance to experience a present-day environmental problems and solution. Also this year, we had a chance to share the program that we run at LA San with our consultant community, and we'll be working with them in the coming months to support the program next year. And next year, we plan to integrate at a minimum 5 high school students to gain exposure and training in various LA sanitation trade opportunities and jobs. As you know, it's very difficult to keep our trade occupations that are very specialized filled with quality people. A lot of times water and power comes and gets them, and sometimes they just leave. So we want to start exposing some of our young people to pipe fitting, glass fitting, all the things we do to make a plant run that takes trade opportunities. Lastly, we invite you to attend the closing ceremony next Friday to meet the students, and also, as important, the mentors that took on this assignment. I have 2 people here today that really make this program grow. I'd like to introduce Rhonda Downey and Francisco Barbarero. And of course, our director has been very forthcoming with supporting this program. He always asks me, Mike, what do you need? He never said, well, I'm going to pull back. He said, Mike, what do you need? And he gets it for me. So he's been very instrumental in keeping this program going and a big supporter. So we want to thank you for your time, and maybe some of the interns might want to talk about their learning experience this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mike, are there interns that are going to speak on they're going to speak on their experience, or how would you like us to? Why not you, sir? You're sitting front, front and stage right. Good morning, sir.
Hi, I'm Eugene McAdoo, and I go to Narbonne High School. I'm a senior, and I work with the Bureau of Sanitation, and I work with the Watershed Protection Program. And so the goal of the program is to protect local watersheds by making sure that they comply with all of the regulations in the Clean Water Act. And we do this by inspecting city facilities to make sure that they're following their stormwater pollution prevention plans, and making sure that they're following their best management practices. This internship's helped me a lot because it's helped me realize ways and think of ways that I can help reduce the pollution that my family might release into the ocean or in the stormwater drains. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Ugona Wankwa, and I attend Washington Prep High School, and I will be a senior this year. Through my whole experience, I was at Hyperion, and I learned how the treatment plant works and basically how they recycle water and get water from the sewage systems. I got to visit the digesters and stuff like that. We even went like underground the treatment plant and see how the pipes were connected and how the whole thing flows. I learned I learned more about what I wanted to do in college. There were a lot of chemical engineers there, so I was able to communicate with them. And now I want to be a chemical engineer or an electrical engineer. And yeah, working at Hyperion helped me a lot. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. My name is Darion Allen. I'm going to be a junior at King Drew Medical Magnet High School, and I'm with the Solid Resources Commercial Franchise Division, and I've been able to go with their inspectors group, with their facilities group, and with their information technology and administrators group, and I've been able to learn about the different things that they all do to, make contracts and make sure that everybody's, just make sure that all the solid resources have a place to go and that they're treated how they're supposed to be treated after they, get picked up by the trash. And it's been a very enlightening experience being able to work with such nice people with the city, and they're very helpful, and they've helped me gauge what I want to do with my life in terms of engineering, whether that's what I really want to do or not, and I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Williamson. I'll be a senior at Port Los Angeles High School in San Pedro. And this past few weeks, I've been working at Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant. And I can definitely say it was an eye-opening experience. I've learned a lot about the workplace, how to act, the etiquette. Not only did I learn things about the workplace, but I learned a lot about sanitation. I had no idea that the city of LA put a lot into making sure our streets are clean and our water is clean, and it's definitely eye-opening, and I'll pass this information on to anyone I see, and I would like to learn more. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Porter, and I'm going into my senior year at Valley Christian High School. For these past 5 weeks, I've been working at the ELC, which is the Environmental Learning Center at Hyperion, and I've been learning a lot about the City of Los Angeles programs for One Water and Zero Waste, and how they're implementing those programs and how those programs are going to help us better our environment for all of us to live in. This program has taught me a lot about the workplace and a lot about what I want to do in the future, and in going on the Hyperion's boat and visiting the Bureau of Engineering at Hyperion, visiting the plant. I've learned a lot about what I want to pursue going into college as far as my major and as far as what I want to do moving on into the future. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Sasha Berry, and I attend Carson High. I will be a junior. I work at the Public Works building on the 5th floor, and what I learned is we went on a field trip to the Potential Industries building in Wilmington, and I learned about MRF, which stands for Material Recovery Facility, and I learned that they recycle over 80,000 tons a year, and they recycle paper and plastics and newspapers.
Thank you, ma'am. Congratulations.
Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
My name is Daisha Campbell, and I attend Hollywood High School. This upcoming fall, I will be a senior. My experience for the LA Sanitation internship was quite interesting. I learned a lot about LA Sanitation and what they do to try to prevent all the waste and destruction in the city. I worked with two different divisions. The first one was SRVCD, which stands for Solid Resources Valley Collection Division. Sorry about that. And also worked with SRSSD, which stands for Solid Resources Social Service Division, I believe. Sorry about that. It was quite interesting. They all had different aspects that they reached and conducted. I learned a lot, and I'm very thankful for this internship. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Laurelette, and I go to California Academy of Math and Science in Carson, and I'm going to be a rising senior. So during this internship, I had the opportunity to work in the Solid Resources Support System Division in LA Sanitation, and I got to learn many things that I never knew before, even though I'm really interested in environmental sciences. So I got to write my first science report with my mentor, Rowena, about this model, this online model called waste reduction, and I got to estimate the number of greenhouse gas emissions reductions that the city of Los Angeles can possibly have, and this was an amazing opportunity, and I learned how to be professional in a workplace.
Great, thank you.
Good morning. My name is
Morning.
Stephanie Orozco. I'm a rising senior, and I go to Math and Science College Prep. Going into this internship, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect because this is my first internship. But I learned about the EDP Reyes Green Space, which is it's a facility that it has a biofiltration system that cleans out stormwater and puts it back into the LA River. And I thought this was really cool because I'm born and raised in LA, and I want to keep my city clean and beautiful, and I one day hope to work with the city of Los Angeles and create techniques to keep it beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Smith Rajaguru, and I'm going to be a junior this fall at Sherman Oaks Center for Enriched Studies. And once I came to this internship, I was really nervous because I didn't know what we were going to do. But I'm glad I took the opportunity to apply because I've learned many things about how our city runs and the many projects we do. But I've also met many amazing people that have given me lessons for me to carry on after this internship. And overall, it's been an outstanding experience. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Javier Pazguero, and I was situated in Solid Resources Support Services Division, and I learned about LA Sanitation and their collection services and their what they do exactly to prevent waste from going to landfills and making LA sustainable for the future. And I enjoyed the potential industries material recovery facility the most because I learned about the advanced technologies that they use to separate and categorize what is put into blue bins, and I thought it was only manual labor before, so I learned about the technology that they use, and it's been a good program because I get to see what it is that I want to do in the future, and it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Guan. I come from Wilson High School, and I'm going to be a senior next year. So I'm working with the Media Center. I'm working with the IWMD division, which stands for Industrial Waste Management Division, and I go out to inspection with them. And our job is to check the pH of each company, like. We check if they over the limits, and we also collect the water of the companies and then send them to the science lab. I feel really happy to attend this program because it helped me a lot, and I learned a lot about engineering and inspections from this program. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. Morning.
Good morning. I'm Camille Edwards, and I go to Hamilton High School. I'm going to be a senior this year. At the Hyperion Treatment Plant, I was placed in the Environmental Monitoring Division. In the Process Control Lab, I measured samples to make sure the Hyperion Treatment Plant removed chemicals in accordance with EPA standards during their water treatment process. I observed the collection of aquatic organisms and mud samples on a boat with the Oceans Division, which would later be tested for toxins. In the Toxicity Lab, I conducted pH, salinity, temperature, and biochemical oxygen demand tests to measure changes in sediment samples. In the Microbiology Lab, I observed a lab technician test raw sewage from the LA River for harmful levels of bacteria. Through my internship with LA Sanitation, I gained insight into everyday tasks performed in the fields of biology and chemistry, along with knowledge through tests and observations. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Angelica Lopez. I go to Basis High School. As an intern, I'm going to be a senior next year. As an intern at Hyperion Treatment Plant, I worked in the administration and engineering division, where our supervisor took us on daily tours around the plant where we saw in person the process of treating wastewater, and I learned about the different career options. We were introduced to environmental, mechanical, and other types of engineers, and I enjoyed this internship and seeing all the different job options out there and here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Selma Gutierrez. I will be a senior at New Roads High School in Santa Monica. And this internship had really opened my eyes because I realized there are a limited number of women in science and engineering. And this has shown me that I could do anything with just the right mindset, and I will hopefully study or major in engineering in college. And I just want to thank you guys for keeping this internship and program alive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Hi.
My name is Sophia Lopez. I go to Eagle Rock High School, and I'm a rising junior. I've been working with the Financial Management Division, which I thought was very fascinating because I got a feel for how sanitation distributes and allocates funds to fund these very expensive projects and to maintain our treatment centers, and I've also learned how to write a grant. I think one of the most unique parts of this internship was being able to step outside of my own world with just my teenage peers and talk with a lot of adults who have previous experience and knowledge, and they were able to share a lot of interesting things with me, and I thought that was very awesome, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Joanna Cardenas. I will be a senior this upcoming fall at Kindru Medical Magnet High School. I've been working with the recycling division at the Public Works building, and overall my experience has been good. I've learned a lot about what the city of Los Angeles does in terms of recycling, so I've really enjoyed this internship, and I want to thank you guys for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, good morning.
Morning,
my
sir.
name is Prem Shalat, and I'm going to be a junior at John Marshall High School in Los Feliz. And I'd just like to thank you guys for offering such a great program, because this has really changed my life. And in the future, when I apply for jobs, I know what the work experience is going to be like. and I worked at the Industrial Waste Management Division, and we help issue permits and inspect the various industries that are in Los Angeles. And one of the very interesting things one of my supervisors told me was that when you work for LA Sanitation, you're not really working for a specific person or a private company. You're working for the people of Los Angeles. And that like really motivated me to work even harder and like contribute even harder to the greater aspect of a better LA. So I'd like to thank you guys for this wonderful experience.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Repenning.
I just want to say it was great to hear and get a chance to hear from you all today. I want to thank Enrique Zaldivar, our head of sanitation, for his support for this program. To Michael Simpson, thank you for making it happen. To all the staff who brought it together. In terms of some of the things that I heard that you guys got out of this program, learning how a workplace kind of works and how to interact in a workplace professionally, how the city works, being led to really think about your environmental footprint and how to do more to help protect our environment. And then also hearing that some of you were inspired to pursue further studies in the STEM fields in science, technology, engineering, and math, which is really important because for us as a city, we need a more diverse pool of candidates coming to us in those fields, and fields traditionally where women and people of color have been underrepresented. So that is great. I hope that some of you were inspired to really think about public service. And as the last speaker said, working on behalf of the people of LA, working in a field where you can actually make the world a better place is something that, for me, means a lot. I love it. I enjoy it. And I hope that some of you will think about going into public service, either in terms of working for the government or even one day running for elected office. We need, good, smart leaders at all levels. So thank you so much for coming today, and I wish all of you the best of luck.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Enrique, great job in building the next generations of our workforce here at LA San Michael and the rest of the LA San Bureau of Sanitation staff. Young people, I worked many, many years and these opportunities with young people, and I'm so happy to see you here today speaking your heart, speaking your mind about what it's been like. I would encourage you to take your contacts and all the experiences that you had this summer and to carry them with you, to keep in contact with the people that you have, and be fearless and never be afraid or reluctant to pursue, to ask a question, to follow up with contacts and people that you met. Because as they've done for you and as they've served you and mentored you and taught you, so too must you do that for others as well. So like the gentleman said, for the people, by the people is a great roundup, and I'm so happy that all of you spoke your voice so loud and clear. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Davis.
I wanted to ask before I comment, do you guys get paid? Okay. Well, I want to thank the mayor and Enrique and Heather, who is the board liaison to sanitation, for giving you jobs and overseeing those jobs this summer. I know that you have learned how important the role of the Bureau of Sanitation is as it relates to environmental science in general, and in particular how important it is in terms of what they do for the city of Los Angeles and the various systems from wastewater and you name it. And I have heard that many of you have worked in the various programs that sanitation has to offer. It is a learning experience for you, and we are very proud of what you have been able to learn. It will strengthen your education, and we look forward to your going to college, and we know that as a result of this experience that you're going to be very competitive when you get to college. So I'm very proud of each and every one of you. You represent Los Angeles, and I am really hopeful that when you go to college that you will return back here to Los Angeles, and hopefully you will, as Commissioner Repenning said, come back to work with the city of Los Angeles. So congratulations, and I'm so glad you're getting paid.
Thank you all. I am I'll be 53 years old 2 weeks from tomorrow. And I heard a comment from one of you that this could change your life. And as someone of my age, I can tell you that as I sit here today at my age, first of all, time really flies. Okay, I know it seems like it takes a long time when you're a junior to get to a senior, and when are you ever going to be a senior? And I can tell from listening to you that you're really relishing the experiences that you're having now, and just continue to do so. But the reason that I confessed my age is because I will tell you that as I sit here at my age today, I can remember vividly the internship opportunities that I had in high school. And they do affect and shape and can change your life. And so one of the things I always tell young people, this is my third career along the way. And every step opens another door. When I heard about your grade point averages, wow. Davis and I were sitting here conversing about the fact that we're glad we're as old as we are, because we wouldn't have been able to get with our grade point averages. You are such standout citizens and representatives of our community and the future of our country. So thank you for, I spoke to some of you earlier, and I told you, I said, thank you for applying for the program, because without your willingness, effort, and guts to apply for the program, our program wouldn't be so successful. And I'm watching you all, and you're kind of going through, and you know who's going to speak before you, and so you know who's coming next. And I'm wondering if there are knots that are starting to warm up, because when I was your age, to stand up in this environment and to speak before a commission like this, I don't know that I would have had such success doing so. But part of being an employee at the Bureau of Sanitation or in so many other city departments or in public service, that skill set that you all demonstrated this morning is part of the job. And you all knocked it out of the park. So you are well on your way to amazing careers in whatever you decide to do. So thank you for being a part of the program, for spending some of your summer. And I do want to say thank you to Commissioner Davis's question to you about, are you being paid? It's so important for us and for the mayor to grow the mayor's Higher Youth program. I think in the beginning, right when the mayor took office, we were looking at about a 5,000 student program. And I think we've gotten to 15,000 students in the program in just 3 years. So we've tripled it in that amount of time, which is, the goal was 10,000. And so we're beyond thrilled to have so many students with such great opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Zaldivar. You're here today. This is an exemplary program that makes Public Works proud. Thank you to the other bureaus that are part of the Department of Public Works for their programs as well. And I've got to give a shout out to Ms. Jan Perry at Economic and Workforce Development Department. We've worked with her and her department in growing this program and seeing it to success. So congratulations to all of you. You all undoubtedly hear this from your friends and your family members and your teachers. You have a very bright future. We're just so thrilled that you're part of our program. Use this on your resume for many years to come. You have that opportunity, and that's something that you have earned. And one of the great tools that we have when you spend time with us is the ability for us to recruit you again when you are ready for the full-time workforce. And that's something that we get a lot of things out of it, but that's something that selfishly for our department that we get out of it, because we get the best and the brightest that have already worked for us, and that gives us a head start. So thank you all for being here this morning. What I am going to do, before we go back on our agenda, I'm going to take just a brief recess for a quick photograph with us that we would like to take with all of you that took the time to come this morning, and then we'll go right back on our agenda, so it'll be just a couple of minutes. You guys can come right around, come right over here, and we'll do that. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you, everyone. Going back on our agenda, we have some of the above-ground facility items that we have speaker cards for that were not continued. Let's start with agenda item number 5. From Commissioner Cinto, Council District 11, above-ground facility appeal, 7951 South Agnew Avenue. Commissioner Cinto recommending that the board deny Herb and Caroline Klein's appeal of the Bureau of Engineering's determination to locate the above-ground facility adjacent to 7951 South Agnew Avenue with the condition that the cabinet be placed 18 inches from the brick wall behind the proposed cabinet. And we have a speaker card on agenda item number 5. Let me get to these. One moment. Mr. Ledoux on number 5.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Ledoux. I work for the Bureau of Engineering AGFU permit section. This is a AT&T light gate cabinet for high-speed internet. It's in CD11, which is Mike Bonin's district, and they're remaining neutral on this. We did do an additional site visit out there. What we did with AT&T was have a mock-up cabinet approximately the size of the one they're installing to see if it had any effect on the visibility of someone pulling out of the driveway at that particular address. We tried it where it was right against the sidewalk. We also tried it at 18 inches from the wall and 3 feet from the wall. And we found out actually that if it's placed right next to the sidewalk, which is not 18 inches from the wall, but next to the sidewalk itself, it actually has the least impact as far as traffic visibility of someone backing out of that driveway. So if this, our recommendation upheld, I would like it amended that it say rather than 18 inches from the wall to be placed against the sidewalk. In fact, I do have a couple of pictures of this, and you can see impact from at least 2 of these positions, one 3 feet from the wall and one right next to the sidewalk. The appellant was concerned with the 18 inches from the wall because it would allow it people to use it as a stepping stone to climb up on the top of the wall, and we were concerned that if it's placed there, right now there's some landscaping that is in front of that cabinet a little ways. If that landscaping disappears, that cabinet being placed 18 inches from the wall could have an effect on traffic visibility, which is why we'd rather have it placed next to the sidewalk.
Are either Herb or Caroline Klein the appellants here? Okay. Commissioner Jacinto?
Yes, President James, thanks. Jeff, thank you and the staff for going out there to work with the homeowners. That's what our hearings are for, to find any sort of flexibility or cooperation in placing these the AGFs. In this case, we went back and saw the safety issue with it being close to the fence and came out a little bit to more toward the sidewalk to be able not to block the driveway. So this is probably the optimal placement on this property, and it moves the work forward. And I want to again thank you for that due diligence that we did, Jeff. Thank you.
Any further questions of Mr. Ledoux on agenda item number 5? I don't have any questions. Jeff, I would just, again, thank you for the accommodations in addressing the issues that were raised by the appellant. Commissioner Santos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5. I'll second it. I'm sorry?
We do have speaker cards on item number 5. And
I didn't have it in my stack.
You are correct, Mr. President. No speaker cards on item number 5. However, there is a proposal to amend the report. So just for clarification, that is to place the cabinet against the the brick wall, or next to the sidewalk?
Place it next to the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Thank you. So is the motion then to adopt as amended? Okay, then I'll second it as amended. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5 as amended. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? Then we'll send it forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Ledoux. Thank you, Mr. Campos. Agenda item number 6, Council District 5, continued from July 18, 2016, above-ground facility appeal, 373 South La Jolla Avenue. Commissioner Jacinto recommending the board deny Evelyn and Eliezer Shamam's appeal of the Bureau of Engineering's determination to locate the above-ground facility adjacent to 373 South La Jolla. We have some speaker cards on number 6. Mr. Herman on number 6.
Good morning. I'd like to point out that there's pictures and cameras taken of me and my puppet, Mr. Herman. But, yeah, we're concerned about these issues of Commissioner Sencito. Is this you, Joel? Are you recommending the Bureau to deny Evelyn or Elsner Sherman's apparel for the Bureau of Engineering? Why? What has she done? What do people do just to deserve this, Joel? Don't you see us kids want things to go forward? We can't stand behind the puppet master. Oh, Herman's not a real puppet, but I am. See? But I could talk. That's why I come to public meetings, to make sure and ensure that the public's right-of-ways are safe. Path of travel. But this has to do with the appeal. An appeal where the people of the community are not involved. Where's the transparency behind that, Joel? You should know better than that. This is in CD5. My favorite elected official, Mr. Peppa Pig. Hey, shout out. But anyways, I'm not going to dog along on this too long because, as you know, adjacent to 373 South La Jolla Avenue, you should have a book in the back of the room so I could read more about the testimony and the objection and correction of all this. This helps to improve my speaking. After all, I am Dr. B. Thank you, guys. Have a good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. On agenda item number 6, Mr. Ledoux, would you summarize number 6 before we go to the opponents?
Once again, this is an AT&T cabinet for high-speed internet to be placed adjacent to 373 South La Jolla Avenue. We did receive an appeal from the property owner, Elijah and Evelyn Shaman. We did have an appeal hearing before Commissioner Cinto on June 1st. I did do a site visit out there with AT&T. We're talking about 4 lots in the block. The placement that is proposed is on the side of the property. The other 3 lots that compose that block, if we were to place them on that street, would be the front of those properties. There is one possible alternative, which I have here. There is one lot where the house and looks like apartments with a garage are V-shaped. And so at the edge, there is a place that it would be somewhat blocked from the view of the appellants, or I should say the homeowners there, and here's a picture of it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ledoux, would you repeat what you just said regarding this photograph?
This property, the buildings on it are sort of V-shaped, and so if you place it on one corner of it, the wall is sort of blank there, and there's a tree and a utility pole, so you could place it in that area that's in that photograph there. It is not ideal, but it is an alternative to the place that was proposed. Basically, the best of the possible proposed sites is where it is proposed, because that is the side yard of this property. It's the side of it, and also they do have a large wall that goes all the way the full length of that side property, so it would be hidden from the house.
Has this alternate site at all been discussed with any of the appellants?
Yes, when we had the hearing, we did discuss that alternate site. Like I said, before we had the hearing, we went out there, myself and AT&T, looked over that block to see where else the cabinet could possibly be placed, and that was really the only other, if you want to call it viable sites, because like I said, this is the front of the other 3 lots that are on that block. Mr. Shaman's the only property that the house actually faces the other street, so the proposed site at 373 La Jolla is actually the side of his property.
Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you, President James. Jeff, the ordinance states that placement in front of a property on the frontage, what is considered the front, is discouraged, or?
We discourage it going into the front of a property if there is any other alternative. In this case, Mr. Shaman's property was that alternative since it is the side. There are some times where it is unavoidable, but where it is avoidable, it is preferable to not place it in front of a house.
Okay, so that frontage placement where there's a niche that you state is an alternative, but it's not the ideal one because
No,
it's
it
the
is
frontage.
not.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, there's a lot going on here. Would you just repeat the answer to the last question?
President James, I asked Jeff if the placement and the frontage is it's less than ideal because it's another location, and the ordinance states that we want to stay away from
okay,
the frontage.
I caught that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Real quick, Jeff, if we were to consider the frontage property, do we need to go back to through the notice procedure?
We say that again?
Will we need to go back through the notice procedure for those adjacent property owners as well because of the alternative?
What we would do is basically we would cancel this application. AT&T would have to refile, and then yes, because it's a new application, they would have to renotice.
Okay, thank you. Michael Bates.
If I may, I'm not Mr. Bates, but I'm one of the listed speakers, and we kind of preordained what order we would like to go in if that's acceptable to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. I'm sorry.
Actually, as I repeat, I'm not Mr. Bates, but I'm one of the listed speakers.
Do you have a speaker card?
Yes.
Okay, who are you?
I'm Tim Robinette.
Oh, well, Mr. Robinette.
Yes, if I may go first.
Of course you can. Mr. Robinette, go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hearing our appeal this morning. I'm the attorney for the Shamams, Eli and Evelyn. As a little bit of background, they've lived in the area for almost 45 years and in the subject property for over 33 years. But I think first and foremost, there's a procedural issue here with respect to AT&T's application. If you look in the package of the agenda item, the March 31st, 2016 letter, which is the application from AT&T, cites the Los Angeles Municipal Code section that hasn't been active for over 4 years, almost 4 years, September of 2012. Specifically, it cites section 6203.2, which I reviewed on the city's website, and it was as of, I believe, September 23rd, 2012, no longer active and moved elsewhere. So I think there's a procedural deficiency in the application up front. With that being said, and hearing Mr. Ledoux's position that there is an alternate location for this box, and if the fact is that AT&T's application is procedurally deficient from the get-go and may have to apply again, we would obviously strongly support AT&T and also this commission moving it to the alternate location. Without waiving the procedural deficiency issue, going to the heart of the matter, there are lots of other issues that were addressed in my client's initial letter, but there are other ones too. But they primarily relate to placing this right in the middle of the stripway where our clients recently removed all the grass and trying to be environmentally conscious and placing it with drought-tolerant plants and putting in all new landscaping. So the proposed location now would fall smack dab in the middle of that. In addition to that, my clients have young grandchildren that visit them and stay with them frequently, and having this box right there on the property, although as Mr. Ledoux said, it's the side of the property, actually La Jolla is the street that goes, that's their address side. They enter from both sides because there's also a driveway, which is the entrance they use more than the entrance on 4th Street. And I'll let Mr. Shamam address that. There is also the issue with respect to, they already have several other utilities on or adjacent, directly adjacent to their property. There's the DirecTV and there's AT&T already there, and I believe Verizon, as noted in the letter. So I think that there's a myriad of reasons to strongly consider the alternate location, especially since Mr. Ledoux and his department has identified another location that won't be directly smack dab in front of the property. And the last issue, which I'll just briefly touch upon, because Mr. Bates, who also has a speaker card, will address it in more detail, and that is my client's plans to renovate the property such that the front of his house would be on La Jolla, which is directly where this above-ground facility box is proposed to be located. So unless you have any questions, I'll let Mr. Shamam and Mr. Bates address you.
It's always risky when I ask the lawyers representing a party a question, I suppose. But I'll dive in. Mr. Robinette, so regarding the procedural issue that you've raised, would you repeat your claim on the procedural issue for me again?
If you look at the AT&T March 31st, 2016 application, it cites for its authority in applying for this above-ground facility box a Los Angeles Municipal Code section that is not active and hasn't been active for almost 4 years. And specifically, that's 62.03.2. So I think that there's a due process consideration.
Yeah, I can speak to that. The above-ground facilities ordinance was relocated as we did some routine maintenance in the Los Angeles Municipal Code when, I believe it was at the time we may have adopted our Bureau of Engineering fee ordinance. We essentially moved that section. It is currently active and it has remained active. It's located at 6208. So I would look at the notation in the letter as really more of a typographical issue.
Right, and my board report has 62.08, which is what we've used, correct?
Correct, yes. So the AGF ordinance is, in substance, it remains identical today as it was at the time.
Are you claiming, Mr. Robinette, that you all didn't have notice of the substance of the municipal
I'm claiming
municipal
if you
code?
follow I'm claiming if you follow the letter of the law, which I believe the commission is obligated to do, that AT&T's application is procedurally deficient because when you look for this code section, it's simply not there.
And so you would require us
there's a notice issue. I think AT&T would be required to renotice the whole thing and start over. I believe it's a due process issue. Whether or not my clients could have jumped through the hoops to try and find a renumbered section, I don't think that burden is on them. I think the burden is on the movement, in this case AT&T, to provide correct information to homeowners. And it's not a recent change. It looks like it's been almost 4 years, September of 2012. So I don't know if AT&T got the message or if they just use old paperwork with cut and paste, but it seems to be that when you're talking about an issue that's this important to my clients, I think it's a strong consideration as to whether or not the person that's actually putting the burden of a large metal box in front of someone's property, that they actually do what they're supposed to do, and that this commission follow what the rules are for the city.
Mr. Jordan, anything to respond?
No, we don't believe that there's any due process issue here, and we recommend that the board proceed as it chooses to without regard to that issue.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Any further questions from Mr. Robinette while he's here? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Bates?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Bates. At the previous meeting with Mr. Ledoux and Mr. Jacinto, it was mentioned that...
Are you an adjacent property owner, sir?
No. I'm here on behalf of the owner.
So you're another representative?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. At that last meeting, Mr. Shamam mentioned that he has plans to renovate his property for retirement purposes. And by doing so, it would then make La Jolla the actual front of this property based on the renovation. And I have a site plan I'd like to share with you guys that more or less... It speaks to his intent to renovate the property, and by that renovation, it demonstrates that the location of that box would be a huge interference because there would be driveways located along La Jolla. And so, as I mentioned earlier, that was brought up before. We didn't present any physical evidence at that time. It was mentioned, but this time we wanted to bring in the actual evidence of his plan to renovate the property.
How old are the plans?
How old are the plans?
Uh-huh.
The plans were just put together recently.
Just recently?
Yes, sir.
After the application by AT&T for
After the application, even after the meeting, but Mr. Shamami mentioned that these were his intentions, and so since it was denied, we took the opportunity to put on paper what his intentions are.
Okay. Any other questions? Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Any
That
other
was it.
questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Cinto.
Mr. Bates, thank you. As we were there at the meeting of the hearing, this plan show 3 driveways on that one strip, 3 proposed driveways. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Eli Sham, I don't know if it's Shamam or Shamam.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Eli Shamam, and I live in this house for 33 years. I raised 4 kids over there, and I have 2 businesses on that street, 3rd Street. All I'm asking here to look at that item there, I have pictures of around my property. I happen to have, the side where they have the electric poles over there. I already have all the companies. They have the boxes on my side, on the post. I have grandkids that they come and play in my playground that I made for them, and it's not healthy for them either. And I got this property now to be my retirement things, because I want to build units over there, and that will be my income when I give everything to the kids. That's all I can tell you. I'm not against the progress. I've been there for 45 years, and I have 2 businesses on 3rd Street, and I remember there was nothing there when I started. But I'm asking to relocate it to somewhere else will be more convenient, so I can have the 3rd Street, La Jolla, it's open for me. Because I want to make the driveway on 4th Street. That's another side of my house. There's a lot of apartment buildings over there. There's no parking there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anything else? Anything else?
Oh, that's it.
Okay.
And besides, those plans, I had them before. I had a permit for it. And then I didn't have the money at the time. And now I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Because the kids are out. All 4 of them are out of the house.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis, do you have a question? Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ledoux? Mike.
I do have a photograph of that side of the property, which I'll pass, and you'll see there, other than utility poles and a street sign, there's nothing else on that side.
Mr. Ledoux, I wanted to ask, did we have an alternative in terms of our work with AT&T that was a possible consideration for us? Did we have one, an alternative?
We have a possible alternative. Like I said,
have a picture of it?
Practically speaking, it would cancel the application. They'd have to reapply, and that means that those, when they reapply and we renotice, then all of the people we noticed would have the right of appeal again.
Oh, I see.
If we do the application for the alternative, do we lose the application that's in place for the current site? Because, and that's what concerns me.
Well,
I'd like to have if we do the alternative, I don't know if we are or not, but if we consider doing the alternative, I'd still like to have the original choice.
Well, the thing is, in order, basically they're placing one cabinet. So if we're going to explore something else, then this one has to essentially get canceled and disappear. The other thing I might say is my boss is here, Noah Arce, and I'm not an engineer, as you know, I'm an administrator. I asked the question, would we allow on a single property 3 driveways? And the answer is no, we would not.
And that's on the alternative?
You
mean the 3 driveways that they listed?
His property. 3 driveways would not be allowed. Most likely it would be 1.
That's not what's moving me here, but go ahead.
And one of the other things is we do have people come and say they're going to remodel a driveway, but you'd have to ask Mr. Shawman and his people, but I doubt that they have any application into the city for an improvement at this time.
Is it a 3 driveway or is it a 3-car is it a 3-car garage? Is that what it is?
I heard 3 driveways. You can say, and the thing is,
for example, if it were...
It says 3 driveways on the
It says 3 driveways, not a 3-car garage.
I heard 3 driveways. You can ask him if I heard that wrong. The other thing is, if he is going to put in a driveway, the thing is, if he's going to show where that driveway is planned, like I said, 3 would not be allowed, then, you know, the box could be moved to allow the most likely location of the driveway based upon his remodeling.
So then you could sit down to explore the possibility of altering it in terms of another location that would not obstruct what his future plans are.
Correct. As long as you do not change the notification pattern, which means that this proposed cabinet stays on that side of the property, then the application can proceed without having it canceled.
Have you discussed that with them, and is that acceptable? Is that an agreement that the disputing party agrees to, or is this something we just are proposing?
The disputing party, you know, has not heard that. I'm saying this for the first time. You have AT&T here. You also do have the disputing party, so they, you know, they. If anything, this could be continued, and we could have another discussion with all parties before Commissioner Jacinto, if that's what the board would like.
I would like to see us try to resolve the problem and have it worked out with all parties. Obviously, you would like to see the same thing.
There's a couple of issues I want to deal with on this. I don't mind opening up the door for further discussions, but to do so, I want to know that it's not going to be a waste of everyone's time. So I don't know if it's Mr. Shamam or Mr. Robinette that wants to speak to whether or not if we are going to consider alternatives in the existing application. Are there any alternatives within the existing application that Mr. Shamam would, as the appellant, would consider in that further discussion that would result in continuing this item to have that discussion? Yes, sir.
By everybody else.
Well, I'm sorry wait for the microphone, sir. We make a record. Go ahead,
By
sir.
everybody else, like Time Warner, there's other companies. They can put their devices in the corner of the houses instead of put in front of the house. I can prove it to you. I have pictures over here.
I'm sorry, sir. We're not getting any of your testimony when you're not near the microphone. I'm just asking you to join the microphone, sir.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Well, I think, if I may, Mr.
Here's another picture, just almost as big as a box. Transfer it to him, please.
Mr. Shamam.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
But I'm
Mr.
asking
Davis.
to relocate it and not
Mr.
put it in the middle of
Shamam.
the property of the people.
Mr. Shamam.
And I have a little kid that play over there, and there's cancerous things that can happen from the static.
Mr. Shamam, have you had an opportunity to have the discussion with the representative from Public Works about this recommendation? Have you had a chance to discuss this?
Nobody talked to me ever.
Okay.
I saw him one day. They were across the street.
I would like for you to have that discussion with them in terms of a possible alternative. If, in fact, we have other utilities that have used a measure that is helpful, that has been practiced, that I'm sure Mr. Ledoux is very familiar with what other utilities are doing as well. And I would hope that this would be a part of the conversation we can have. I think our goal here is to try to resolve the issue in the best interest of everyone. Obviously, you know, when we get to the point where we say, well, if we do this, then we're going to have to go back and start the process over again. I just hope that in our attempts to resolve the problem that we're taking every consideration possible to resolve it. And so you've not had an opportunity to discuss it with Mr. Ledoux and AT&T. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that AT&T is a good corporate citizen, and I believe that AT&T wants to resolve it. I don't think they get any big victory at not really trying to work with constituents. And at the same time, constituents are also their customers. So I would like to have us really seriously sit down. Mr. Ledoux does this for a living and certainly is judicious. I would like to see you have a discussion where you can discuss some of the issues that you think are important. And I am so sorry that you've not had a chance heretofore to discuss it, but I think that that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Davis. Mr. Ledoux, I have a question for you. Thank you, sir. So, procedurally, on the current application, how much time do you need and how much time can we continue the item so that the current application is alive, for lack of a better term, for a potential alternative here? And I'm not talking about the alternative that you referenced that would require a new notification issue. Go ahead.
I will be out of town next week, so we would have to have the meeting in first week or two of August. So if a date could be worked out today for us as soon as we can in August, then we can discuss that and then bring it back to the board.
Okay, well, I'm not going to do the calendaring on that meeting right now. You can do that offline. All I'll do is set the new date for the continuation of this hearing. Commissioner Jacinto?
President, thank you. I just want to clarify that, yeah, we did have the hearing where all parties were involved.
Right.
We did discuss. So we did have an opportunity to discuss with our Public Works and AT&T about a possible solution, which is we always strive for in the hearing. So if the request or what is being put forward is a continuation of the time to be able to work it out within the shot clock, within the shot clock that is against us, then I would support that. That would mean that we would go back, but that would mean deciding and working to place the AGF on that property, not an alternative application on that property. That's what is being proposed.
Okay. Then I would support that as well. So not knowing what the shot clock is, I'm going to throw a date out here, Mr. Ledoux, and you can tell me if I'm within it. Mr. Campos, if we continued today's agenda item number 6 to August the 5th, Mr. Ledoux, does that meet with your time for being away and give you time for the discussion and get us inside the shot clock?
I believe so. If not, I can let you know that. But as long as Mr. Shaman can meet that week, then yes, it should.
Okay.
You have done oversight for other devices as well, and it was mentioned about Time Warner using the corner locations on properties effectively. You're aware of that?
Time Warner did not place any above-ground facilities on corners because the ordinance forbids anything within the 45-foot visibility triangle, which means when you have two streets, you take the curb face out, and at that point, say this is a property, you go 45 feet both ways, and they're not allowed to place on there. Now, if they place something on a utility pole that's at the corner, that they could do, but as far as in the sidewalk on the from ground level up, no, they could not.
Well, not the sidewalk, as I understand his testimony. It was some corner, but I think at least this will be a part of the discussion you'll have with him. He did present to the board an alternative that he has seen, and he has pictures that show what he's talking about. So notwithstanding the details of it, because
Right.
I'm just hearing it for the
But
first
I'm
time.
aware of
I'm just
what
hearing
they
it for the
can.
first time like you are. My point to you as a board member is, will you make sure we have that discussion with him on his proposal that he's presenting to us with pictures? We'll discuss that as a part of your deliberation. Thank you, sir. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you. So, Mr. Robinette, only on a calendar issue with you.
That's correct.
Okay, so what's your thought on
I
that?
spoke with Mr. Shamam. He is going back east and will be returning the 3rd, August 3rd, so I don't know if that gives
Okay,
Mr.
how
Ledoux
about,
and Mr.
let me
Shamam-
ask the next question. How about Friday, August the 12th?
That's for a continued hearing here?
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, is that still within our shot clock, Mr. Ledoux?
Well, to clarify, the FCC shot clocks only apply to cell sites. This is not a cell site, so we're under no shot clock on this particular item.
Okay, Commissioner Ascento referenced that. So, but let me rephrase it this way.
Okay.
August the 12th, if we had the continued hearing August the 12th, that does not, we're not going beyond any of these preclusive deadlines.
No,
Okay.
we're not. It's just, if I could see a calendar real quick. Do you have one?
Yes.
One moment.
That's what I was afraid of. Friday, August 12th is actually my regular day
How about
off.
Wednesday, August 10th?
That I can do.
Wednesday, August 10th, Mr. Robinette?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. So Wednesday, August 10th will be the date that we're continued to.
Right.
Okay, and we've had the discussion among yourself, Commissioner Davis, the appellants heard it, as well as Commissioner Ascento. All right, thank you, sir.
So we're going to schedule are we going to schedule a meeting with Commissioner Sento prior
You can
to
do
the
that
10th?
offline. I'm not going to
Okay.
do that here with everybody
Right.
sitting here.
Okay.
I can't hear you, sir. With that, you cannot come next. Mr. Robinette, you want to? Oh, of course. Your representatives can be here if he can't be here.
We'll work that out.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inquiring, sir. So we're set for August 10th. Before that, Mr. Jordan, would you respond? I want the record clear on your position regarding the procedural issue that was raised by Mr. Robinette.
Yes, the procedural issue that Mr. Robinette raised was that in the original letter from AT&T, they referenced Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 62.03.2. As council pointed out, that section is no longer the city's above-ground facilities ordinance. In fact, it now resides at 62.08. It was renumbered in 2012, as I mentioned, pursuant to some kind of housekeeping matters that we did in the municipal code. However, when one looks at Los Angeles Municipal Code 62.03.2, as council represented that he did, it actually states that that section was renumbered to 62.08. So if one were to look to 62.03.2, they would actually see an express reference to the new code section. The new code section, which also includes the appeal rights that the property owners are currently availing themselves of.
Okay. So, Mr. Ledoux, what you might do going forward, was pointed out by council here, the applicants, it would be helpful so we can alleviate the typo issue that Mr. Robinette, I think, correctly raised on that. Substantively, though, it's not an issue that's going to move me on this. But for correcting that issue, we appreciate the pointing it out, and you can get that corrected. Thank you. So that'll be the order on agenda item number 6, continued to August 10th. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. We have a couple of other housekeeping items. One of them I neglected to mention at the beginning of the other one, at the beginning of the meeting. The other one I didn't. But the one that I neglected to mention, we should have continued agenda item. We have an oral report that was agenda item number 11 on the quarterly status report for stormwater capture at Bureau of Sanitation. And so I should have continued that to a week from today, which will be August the 29th. And we're also, I understand, so thank you, Steve, on that. I understand Ms. Weintraub would like to continue the semi-annual status report of construction bond programs and municipal facilities, item 12, to August the 29th as well. Am I right, Mr. Campos, on that?
Mr. President, that would be Friday, July 29th.
Okay, so that's on agenda item number 12, the oral report on the bond program. So both of those items will be continued to August 29th.
I believe you meant July 29th.
July 29th.
I said July 29th?
August.
Oh, July 29th. I wrote August 29th for some reason. Yeah, we are in the month of July. So both are for July 29th. We have another above-ground facilities ordinance. Let me see what I've got. I've got one in Council District 12, and then we'll go to our special agenda. Agenda item number 7, continued from July 13th, 2016, Council District 12, above-ground facility appeal, 6726 North Capistrano Avenue. Commissioner Cinto is recommending the board deny Apostolos and Agrios' appeal of the Bureau of Engineering's determination to locate the above-ground facility adjacent to 6726 North Capistrano Avenue with the condition that the proposed AT&T California cabinet be placed at a location to line up with the west side of their gate on Welby Way. My recollection, Mr. Ledoux, on this item is that we had asked you to go back out to the residence with the appellant on this item because something had come up in connection with a proposed alternative that might have been workable.
That is correct.
Okay, where are we now before I go to the speaker cards on it?
Okay, I did do a site visit there. Basically what the appellants stated is they would like it to the left of the tree. They have a gate, and the proposed alternate location for this was to put it so it lined up with that gate, and just to the left of it is a tree, and they wanted it to go beyond the tree. So I did go out there, and what I found was on the other side of the tree is an 18-foot catch basin, and then there's a 7-foot gap between the catch basin and a utility pole. So it cannot go anywhere on the other side of that tree that would still place it on the appellant's property, because you need a 10-foot clearance between the utility pole and the cabinet, and that's a DWP requirement. There's only 7 feet there. After you hit the utility pole, then there's the driveway to the property that's next to them. And once again, there is a 22-foot catch basin, and then there is an area on right after the catch basin where the cabinet could be placed, but that is on the neighboring property, which once again means that if the board elects to grant that appeal, this case would then be closed, and AT&T would have to file a new application on this other location because it would be adjacent to a brand new property.
All right, thank you. Let me go to the speaker cards on this. Agenda item number 7, Mr. Herman.
No, Mr. Herman's a puppet. This is Mr. B talking about the dwarf in CD 12 for above-ground facility appeal. Did you not hear the appeal by the attorney earlier? To deny? Did you hear that, Mr. Joel? See, people are watching and listening in to the puppets. People like me, for example, I'm just a puppet. But yet I criticize those who can't control themselves in the business of the people. Don't people want to have transparency to the conditions around their homes, around their property of business? Me, for example, just a little bear, I like trees, for example. I was going to talk about item 13 off topic, I know, but I just want to relate to what the gentleman said about the tree. See, bears use trees to scratch on. See? Scratch. And bears use trees to leave a scent so people can know that a bear was there. Talking about the appeal on the Bureau of Engineering determination to locate the above-ground facility AGF adjacent to 6726 North Capistrano Avenue. Now, such condition that the report of the proposed AT&T California AT&T, this cabinet was to be placed in that location, but you hear there's disagreement. Such disagreement is a foul play. That's why I come in here to talk to Mr. Davis to say, Davis, your points of consideration, of objection are so true. Right, Mr. B? Yeah. I need you guys. We really need you guys to support the public's interest. Really, don't let us bring attorneys in here to rob the public. But attorneys do a good job, like Hugo Rossiter, Rossiter.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. It's the longest 2 minutes of my life. Ms. Agrios on agenda item number 7, ma'am. Welcome back.
I don't know if it's good morning or good afternoon.
Sorry, we had a number of these to get to today, of course. Go ahead now.
I'm very thankful for the third time back. I learned LA. And I went back to the property, and I have a proposal. If AT&T has to stay on our property to our left, the tree is older than me. We can replace the tree with a new tree and leave to the left the box so it wouldn't be a hazard to my gardener, to my tenants. Also, if this doesn't work for AT&T, they could get a new, because right next door, I have brought pictures. Right next door to our property, it is a driveway. Right next door to the driveway, it's a safe place for AT&T to put the box. So I don't have a problem to be to my property all the way to the left if the tree is replaced and it's not a hazard to my tenants or to my gardener or to the people walking. Or let's go next door. It's pretty safe. And I have pictures for the entire street. My window from the kitchen all the way to the end of the property and next door. I went 3 times to make sure I don't have a senior moment and I don't remember correctly, to make sure that I am, good to AT&T and to people around there, also to my tenants. So I'm thankful for giving me the opportunity, but I think should be able, AT&T, to work around it.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Ledoux? She does have some different photos here with questions. Why not here? I would like to get this resolved today if possible. We have other agenda items that we need to go through. Could you look at, is there the AT&T representative here?
Yes.
Okay. Could we, could I just hold this item over and we can take our oral report and have you look at some of these other items, unless you already have looked at all these photographs, so that we can get a response on whether or not anything within the parameters of what the property owner is offering works.
Well, I have been out to the property a couple times. I looked at it thoroughly this last time without, Ann is suggesting the removal of the tree. If the board is willing to remove the tree, then the cabinet can still be placed on their property a little further from the gate, which is what she's asking. And there is a spot on the, as I've stated, on the property that joins theirs that it could go, but that would change the notification pattern and require a whole new application. So I'm already aware of everywhere on that street where it could go.
Commissioner Repenning?
I just want to say that I don't support removing trees for the placement of AGF. Yeah. It's a slippery slope, and I don't want to go down it.
And as you notice, I didn't give that as an alternative.
No, that's not that well. So do any of these why not here's have you already addressed those, Jeff?
On this particular picture, like I said, you see the catch basin that I mentioned, and then you see the utility pole. There's only 7 feet between the catch basin and utility pole. DWP requires 10 foot, so you can't place it there. That's the problem. As far as 7 foot, yeah, you could plunk the cabinet down there, but according to DWP...
Is that the same problem, Mr. Ledoux, with this one? You can hang on to those. I want you to address each of those so that we get a clear record here.
These are actually both the same spot. Once again, like I said, you have the 18-foot catch basin there, and then you have 7 feet between the edge of the catch basin and the utility pole, and DWP requires nothing within 10 feet. So you'd have to, you only have 7 feet here, 10 feet would place the cabinet on top of this catch basin, which you cannot do.
So Ms. Agrias wants, I don't want to do all this and what I'd like to do is have the two of you step aside with the AT&T representative, and then work out anything that's within the parameter today, this morning, because we have a few minutes now because we're going to get an oral report that's going to take a few minutes. Work out any potential possibilities, and then Mr. Ledoux, I want you to come back and report on whether they exist or don't.
Okay.
And then we can move from that point. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. While we've got everyone here, let's get that taken care of. In the meantime, let's go, colleagues, to special number, let me find the special 1. Report on the water quality in the Los Angeles River by the Bureau of Sanitation. Let me deal with speaker card issues on this.
And Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, just for the record, for roll call, Commissioner Davis, James Repenning, Jacinto are present. We do have a quorum for this. There is no public comment cards received, and there is no commentary for the neighborhood councils, but we did receive a speaker card under the item.
Okay, so on this item, we'll close general public comment, and we will close the neighborhood council comment. The speaker card, let me get to the speaker card on this item. Mr. Well, it's Mr. Herman. It looks like Dr. B. Is that Mr. Herman today? Mr. Herman, you're up.
I told you folks, when you talk about puppets, puppets pull strings, but constituents have the last say-so. So when dealing with the discussion of council representatives on neighborhood council resolutions, it's the community that you impact when you have the reverse adverse bad decisions for our community filed with the city clerk. So the city clerk doesn't represent the community. 54950.5 represents the community. That engages us to come and speak on agenda items listed or not listed being into consideration of this special, right? Isn't that how things work under LAAC 22.819 Ordinance 184243 agenda items? So public comment about the hearing for public testimony is a non-agenda item under the board's jurisdiction, which allows Dr. B, Mr. B, and this puppet Herman to speak so that people can engage on the topics that are important to their testimony and their mind to speak out. Advocacy is a bitch in Los Angeles. You have to fight for every fucking inch. And I'm one bitch, O'Farrell. That's right. That's just my opinion. My effing opinion. I'm not going to use cursive language because I'm just a little puppet, a little bear that you guys criticize and put on the Daily News and the LA Times with that puppet, Mr. Herman. See, I engage in public safety meetings so that all neighborhood council comments and the discretion of the neighborhood council representatives are not misunderstood. So you see, Mr. Davis, when you show up and want to put down public speakers like Wayne Spindler, I remind you, I find that offensive. Wayne Spindler speaks in advocacy for the public.
2 minutes.
For the public, Mr.
Thank
Davis.
you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Zaldivar and Mr. Tam and Mr. Hage Khalil, I see you all here in whichever order. Mr. Zaldivar, you would prefer. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, President James. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Bureau representatives. I'm Enrique Zaldivar. I'm the General Manager of LA Sanitation. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to provide you with an update. With the exciting activities taking place around the renaissance and the restoration of the LA River, and with more friends and champions growing by the day, the timing of today's oral report to you on the water quality testing and monitoring program of the LA River is very appropriate. With no less than 5 regulatory agencies overseeing the water quality in the LA River, ranging from the U.S. EPA to the Water Resources Control Board, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and the county's Department of Public Health. And just as many, if not more, compliance reports that we are required to file regarding the water quality in the LA River, ranging from the MPDS, the MS4, the TMDL, and most recently the Enhanced Watershed Management Plan for the LA River. It can be rather confusing at times, but I believe always reassuring as to what is the extent of our water quality monitoring program for the LA River. To ensure that the great work done by multiple stakeholder and scientific organizations in the water quality space is fully coordinated and leveraged to its maximum potential, including organizations like Council for Watershed Health, Heal the Bay, Friends of the LA River, and the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, we held a technical workshop earlier this week in which we went over the scientific and technical testing being done in the waters of the LA River, specifically on bacteria, given that it's normally the primary criteria used for determining levels of human contact, but by no means the only criteria that we test for. Our very own LA watershed keeper, Dr. Shahram Karagani, will give you an abbreviated presentation of our testing program. Following his presentation, I will ask Adel Hashkhalil, Assistant General Manager Adel Hashkhalil, to also provide the board with a brief update on the recovery and reconstruction efforts following the sewer spill at 6th and Mission from earlier this week. So, Dr. Shahram Karagani, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zaldivar. Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Mr. Jordan, and Mr. Campos. My name is Shahram Karagani. I'm from LA Sanitation. I'm here to provide you an update on the Los Angeles River water quality results. In this presentation that you see on the monitor, I would briefly cover Los Angeles River and its beneficial uses, the regulatory background and water quality impairments, the various monitoring program for Los Angeles River and the historical and current water quality, and the various implementation efforts that are in place for improving water quality in Los Angeles River. As General Manager Zaldivar indicated that on July 20th, we conducted a workshop. The workshop was well attended by a lot of people that are interested in the Los Angeles River, and everyone agreed that Los Angeles River is a great resource to the city, providing many benefits to the city, including recreational opportunities. But at the same time, we must also address public health and safety issues for the people that use the river. So it is important that we discuss and work together, because this is an important issue for our city, and I want to thank everyone that participated in that workshop. Los Angeles River is a 51-mile long that starts in Canoga Park headwaters and goes all the way to Long Beach. It is paved except at certain sections at Sepulveda Basin, Glendale Narrows, and the estuary in Long Beach. The map shows the main stem of the river as well as the major tributaries such as Arroyo Seco and Tahonga Wash. The map to the left is the Los Angeles River watershed is one of the largest watersheds in the region with an area of about 830 square miles. City of Los Angeles is the largest city and the lead agency in the watershed. But we work closely together with the LA County and about 50 other cities in the watershed as we will share responsibility on water quality monitoring and compliance. The map to your right are the two recreational zones. Sepulveda Basin is approximately 2 miles long, and the Elysian Valley is approximately 5 miles long. In 2013, the Los Angeles River Ad Hoc Committee, under the City Council instructions, recommended the city to establish this recreational zone and develop a pilot program under the management of MRCA. This map shows the council district that comprised the Arts, Parks, and River Council Committee that is chaired by Council Member Mitch O'Farrell from Council District number 13, and other council districts in this committee are City 3, 4, 5, and 9. We also are showing Council District 1, 2, 6, and 14 because Los Angeles River also flows through their district as well. As Mr. Zaldivar indicated, that water quality in our region is regulated at 3 levels. At the federal level, we have the Clean Water Act 1972 and its subsequent amendments 1977 and 1987. Then we have the State of California Porter Clone Act of 1969. And at the local level, we have our MPDS permit for the MS4, which means stormwater program, issued by Water Board in 2012. In addition to the permit, Water Board has also adopted a number of TMDLs for Los Angeles River that has been incorporated in our MS4 that the city has to comply with. In this slide, you see the recreational use of Los Angeles River. I'll just go through 2 of them, Rec 1 and Rec 2, Recreation 1 and Recreation 2. Recreation 1 basically says that water contact, recreation are allowed, and those contacts are body contact where ingestion of water is reasonably possible. Recreation 2 or Rec 2 is a non-body contact recreational activities. That means that activities such as boating and similar activities such as boating. For Los Angeles River, the Regional Water Board has determined that recreational uses are currently impaired due to the high coliform bacteria. Accordingly, in 2012, they adopted a bacteria TMDL for Los Angeles River requiring municipalities in the watershed to reduce their discharges. This TMDL was developed through an intensive stakeholder process with permittees and environmental organizations. The bacteria TMDL set limits as well as a schedule for meeting those limits and the requirements for monitoring and water quality in Los Angeles River. The basin plan from the Regional Water Board sets the water quality objectives for Rec 1 and Rec 2. As you could see, for Rec 1, we have 235 mpn per 100 milliliter for a single grab sample, and we have 126 mpn per 100 milliliter for the geometric mean. And simply what it means right now, for single sample, obviously it goes just at 1 sample. The other one, we need to have at minimum 5 samples before we could create a geometric mean. The schedule for compliance with the dry weather requirements of bacteria TMDL is tight, as you could see on your presentation. Phase 1 of TMDLs requires compliance starting with 2022 for segment B and ending with the year 2030 in segment C and D. The segments in the LA River starts at A at the Long Beach and goes all the way to Sepulveda as segment E. So the alphabet start from ocean and go all the way to Conoco Park. If the water quality monitoring would demonstrate that during phase one, the result of compliance has not been achieved, then the TMDL provides additional 6 years for us to do additional projects in order to comply. Here is animation of the showing you the phase approach of the bacteria TMDL for Los Angeles River. The city and several other organizations have conducted and are still conducting water quality monitoring in Los Angeles River. LA Sanitation Environmental Monitoring Division has been doing Los Angeles, Glendale, and Tillman water reclamation plant receiving water monitoring for many years as a part of our wastewater MPDS permit. LA County performs MPDS and mass emission monitoring in Los Angeles River as well. The Council for Watershed Health coordinates the Los Angeles River watershed-wide monitoring program. LA Sanitation Watershed Protection Program conducts what we call a status and trend in the Los Angeles River, and they have been doing that since 2001, and they concluded that part of testing in 2009. And more recently, the division began a new monitoring program called the Coordinated Integrated Monitoring Program, which is mandated by the latest MS4 permit. Now, this is the result of our status and trend monitoring. As you see, this slide summarizes the result of hundreds of samples during our status and trend program between 2001 through 2009. The yellow bars are the median concentrations of E. coli, the water quality objective that has been set for us by US EPA based on EPA study during dry weather at various locations along the Los Angeles River. There are several observations that you could take away from this chart. First, the medium concentration in general exceeds the limit for REC 1. In this respect, it should be noted that the vertical scale is a logarithmic scale, so it seems like that we are close to the limit, but the average E. coli concentration is at the White Oak location is almost 5 times the limit. Second, the exceptions are the medium concentration at the Sepulveda and Figueroa location, which are in general below the limit. The reason behind that is our 2 water reclamation plant. When Tillman discharges is pure water to the LA River, that's where we are meeting my limit of this bacteria TMDL for Los Angeles River. And when there are discharges coming, bacteria goes up until such time that Los Angeles Glendale discharges its discharge, and then as a result of that, again, the city comes in compliance. So the 2 plants that we have been very helpful in reducing bacteria counts as they are discharged into the river. On a separate note, the blue bars that you see, those are the E. coli concentration during the wet weather. In general, these concentration on average, they are factor of 10 higher than REC 1 standards. The other point that the chart shows, it shows also the recreational zone as it is related to locations that we are monitoring. This slide is the more recent monitoring that we have done. As you could again notice that it seems we have made some progress, and the yellow bars are closer to the red bar that you see, which is our limit right now, but the sample size is relatively small. We only have 8 sample size for this, as this requirement came online last year, but we will continue in the future. Here are some examples of existing public notices at Los Angeles River Recreational Zone, providing recreational users with certain restrictions as well as directions and guidelines for safety and public health. In the top right corner are 2 other examples which are coming from Barcelona in Spain. there are less words on them, but they obviously very clearly also bring the message. Now, switching from monitoring to now what we are doing as far as implementation. The city has recently developed or is in process of finalizing several key strategy documents and plans that is for the Los Angeles River. The city's sustainability plan from the mayor's office, that's one of our guidelines. Excuse me. The Los Angeles River Revitalization Plan is another guidance document that we have. The MS4 permit required enhanced watershed management program, that's another permit requirement that we have to follow. And last but not least is the One Water LA 2040 that encompass all of these plans is what we are finalizing. In addition to this plan, there are many other plans that environmental groups or nonprofits have created that we are aware of. And of course, Department of Water and Power also have their stormwater capture master plan. This slide, even though it's very crowded, it shows all of the things that we have done, the City of Los Angeles has implemented. So let me just very briefly walk you through some of them. As required by MS4 permit, the city implements various minimum control measures, such as street sweeping, catch basin cleaning, and public outreach. The second one, the upgrades at the 2 water reclamation plants have significantly reduced, as I mentioned in my graphs, the nitrogen level in Los Angeles River, and the 85% reduction of the sewer spills across the city has been a great news for reducing bacteria in Los Angeles River. The recent water conservation effort, as directed by Mayor's Executive Directive number 5, is likely to further improve the water quality as water conservation in general results in a decrease in dry weather runoff as a result of that lower bacteria counts. And last but not least, Los Angeles Sanitation, in collaboration with many other agencies, has constructed many stormwater capture projects in the watershed. These are all green projects that have multi benefits, and they have provided, a high quality of life for the citizens and in the area that they live next to the project. This slide shows that the upgrades at Los Angeles, at the Tillman Reclamation Plan and Los Angeles Glendale Reclamation Plan, they were completed in 2007 at the cost of approximately $110 million. These upgrades were necessary in response to the Los Angeles River Nutrients TMDL that had set strict limits for the concentration of ammonia and nitrogen in the river. Because of our upgrades, we are meeting those limits. As required by MS4 permit, Los Angeles Sanitation recently completed the Enhanced Watershed Management Program for Upper Los Angeles River, which was approved by the Water Board in April of 2016. As a part of the EWIMS, Los Angeles Watershed Protection Program is now developing what is called the load reduction strategies. These load reduction strategies will target specific storm drains in various segments of Los Angeles River, with the overall goal of eliminating dry weather runoff discharges with high bacteria loading to Los Angeles River. Another effort that is currently underway is the development of a 5-year capital improvement program or 5-year CIP. This CIP includes all the projects that have to be done in order to comply with EWIMS, focusing on the next 5 years. The map on this slide shows that the location of all the projects identified in EWIMS, as you see, the dots is all over the place, and they're also covered in Los Angeles River. As funding for these projects will become available, we will focus on implementing the CIP and continue with identifying and prioritizing projects for the final LA River compliance milestone of 2037. Of course, the implementation of this project will cost money, and the city currently working with County of LA for a county-wide measure on stormwater. We also use and apply for various grant opportunities such as Prop 1C and and partner in order to leverage our resources with other city and county departments, such as Department of Water and Power and LA County Flood Control. The city proposition a $500 million general obligation bond has been a great source of funding to implement many signature projects such as Echo Park Lake and Machado Lake. This brings us to the end of my presentation, Mr. President, leaving you with a slide of some of the questions that was discussed in our workshop.
Thank you, Shahram. Mr. Zaldivar, one quick question. You had referenced Mr. H. Khalil on what?
On the oral update on the sewer spill at
Okay,
6th.
let's deal with this issue first.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So, colleagues, regarding, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything I was missing on that. Regarding the presentation on water quality in the river, the recreational use and water quality presentation, Commissioner Repenning.
Sure. I appreciate the work in the presentation, Enrique and Shahram. And I just wanted to kind of go over some of because it is a fairly technical topic, just kind of some of the big takeaways and make sure that my understanding is accurate of where we're at. So first of all, you all do regular monitoring of the LA River water in addition to other parts of our watershed.
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner. We do monitor Los Angeles River for bacteria on a regular basis, and we provide that information to Water Board, and they have it on their website, in addition to other nonprofit that they take interest.
So as a city, we need to be in compliance with the regulations that the state is setting for water quality. And have we made progress towards meeting some of those requirements over the last 10 years?
Absolutely, Commissioner. As we mentioned, there are 4 TMDLs for the Los Angeles River. One was trash and one was nutrients. We implemented at the cost of $100 million what we would call the screen and insert throughout the city. The city is in 100% compliance with the trash TMDL for Los Angeles River. Then because we upgraded our LAG and Tillman water reclamation plan at the cost of another $110 million, we are meeting 100% the nutrients TMDL. The bacteria TMDL, it was the more recent one at 2012, and the Water Board or US EPA, they have given us the schedule all the way to 2037 for us to come to full compliance.
So we are, so we have a new measure for bacteria that was set fairly recently.
Very recently,
and we have, from the state, the ability to work in a scheduled way until 2037 to be in full compliance?
That is correct. So we work closely with Water Board almost on a weekly basis. So that's the schedule that you saw is the schedule that TMDLs or MS4 permit requires, and we have until 2037 for us to come to full compliance.
So one of the key things that we're talking about is the LA River, and certainly the LA River has been the focus of a lot of efforts in our region, led by the city, led by Public Works, led by our mayor and our city council, with the county, with the U.S. Army Corps. We're trying to revitalize the river. We're trying to restore an ecosystem that was lost when it was paved over in the 1930s. As part of that, it's very important that residents that don't know that we have a river, that have never been there, that have never experienced or seen it, have some buy-in to this very large effort. And so our kayaking program has been part of creating that awareness, that education, that buy-in. Is it safe for people to kayak in the LA River?
Obviously, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a PhD in aerospace area. So I cannot medically say that, but I believe I have been talking to MRCA, who conducts the tours of recreation in Zone 1 and 2, and in the workshop they said 100% that for the past 6 years that they have been conducting this, no one has complained. And in fact, myself also, went for kayaking last year, and the water was fine, It just, you have to do some good housekeeping of showering after, just like anything else when you go to ocean. So from my non-medical thing, I would say yes, Commissioner.
And Enrique?
I wanted to point out, as Sharon briefly mentioned, that one of the outcomes of this workshop we held was a review of our best practices around the human contact through kayaking. And so the measures such as the no swimming, this is where we do ask that folks do not go in the water, as well as the washdown afterwards, the kayaking effort, that is what the consensus is to make sure that the practice is safe.
So it sounds like we can continue to support kayaking programs as one of the forms of indirect contact with the river that help create awareness and engagement, that help people understand and want to take steps to help keep our city clean.
Absolutely. If I may just take a minute to echo exactly what you said, Commissioner. I was one of those converts that took a whole different appreciation for the river. And granted, I'm in this business. After I went kayaking, it is a complete different enlightenment and a different relationship with the river. The more we make that available to folks, it goes to your very point about ensuring that folks and people know the value of the river.
Okay. And then just a couple things. We talked a lot about the progress that's been made in water quality in LA. We've talked about some of the programs that have been put in place, Propo, and some of the other work that we've done. We still have more work to do. Is that accurate?
That is correct. And Commissioner, it just dawned on me when I was sitting down, another additional response to your previous question. Department of Health, County Department of Health was also a member of the workshop. They are the one who have jurisdiction regarding health issues on LA River. So I could tell you that they quoted that, recreational use, safe recreational use of LA River with all the bacteria that you saw, it's okay. So they mentioned that. I just forgot to mention. Now, coming back to your latter question, yes, the city of Los Angeles has 22 TMDLs that we have to comply with. The approximate, estimate cost of that for the next 25 to 30 years is about $7.4 billion.
So as a board, what are some of the types of projects that we should be supporting in order to help us meet our water quality requirements?
Thank you. The board has always been supportive of our program and project, but as I mentioned in my presentation, we have what we call green-blue strategy, and these projects basically are multi-benefit in nature. So not only they improve water quality, they provide augmentation to water supply, they provide habitat, they improve ecosystem, they get rid of the flooding, they provide an amenity for community to use, they increase the value of the community housing. So there are multiple, they improve the health of the community. So all of these green projects are what we have done under Prop O, and your board has been very supportive, and as we continue to implement more.
So a lot of those green infrastructure projects, stormwater capture projects, and I would add as well our Clean Streets program, because it's very basic, but actually finding ways to keep our streets and sidewalks cleaner means less pollution going into our bodies of water.
That is absolutely 100% correct, yes. And Green Street and Green Alleys are again, they are the tools that we have in our toolbox in order to improve water quality, and we have example of those. As you know, you have participated in many, but Elmer Street, again, is an example of Green Street that used to be flooded, but right now we captured the water, approximately 40 acres per year. We send it to the underground aquifer, and if you go over there, you see all the neighbors are having, enjoying, their green yards at the same time, and they're improving water quality.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Commissioner Davis.
I wanted to ask something about the governance in terms of the monitoring. There are several stakeholders along the corridor. Did you say that each of them have their own monitoring system of, how does that work?
When you say the different system, they have different points right now because each one of us is trying to target, a specific thing. My monitoring, the one that my program or our watershed protection is regulated by US EPA. They have told us at this location, they want to know what is the quality of water at that location along the river. So I have receiving water monitoring and also what we call outfall monitoring. Those have been negotiated with the 35 agencies in the watershed and the water boards. So that's the one I perform. And of course, those are the data that you noticed I provided. Then we have other monitoring. Our Tillman and LAG water reclamation plan, they required monitoring because they discharge today. So that's another type of monitoring based on their permit. Then we have cooperation with the Council for Watershed Health. They do a watershed-wide monitoring right now that captures everything, including bacteria. And there are other monitoring that is being done by other cities. I mentioned only LA County, but there are other folks that also, perform monitoring.
Some of our smaller cities in LA County are stakeholders too of the river as well. And I would suspect that maybe, I don't know, but do they have efforts? I've looked at the chart and see that, some of our other cities feed in directly or indirectly, and there are offshoots of creeks and that kind of thing that feed into the river. And so I would think that perhaps they have some kind of monitoring, perhaps?
Yes, the ones that are in the city of LA leads the 4 watershed. For instance, for Upper Los Angeles River, all of the agencies, San Fernando, Calabasas, Burbank, Glendale, Beverly Hills, Culver City, all of those folks, the city of LA is doing the monitoring on their behalf, and we have series of MOAs with them. Same goes for Bonner Creek, the city of LA Sanitation. We are leading monitoring for all those agencies in Bonner Creek because we are 80% of the watershed. In the Santa Monica, the same thing right now. Within our city limit, we are doing monitoring on behalf of a lot of people. And then we go to Dominguez Channel. We are also lead, and we are doing monitoring on behalf of a lot of people. So you are correct, sir.
Do we have any other stakeholders that are a part of the network in terms of universities like environmental science departments? I don't know if USC has one. I know that UCLA has one. Are there other academic institutions that are a part of the stakeholder family in terms of the governance and evaluation?
The answer is yes. To be specific right now, we work very closely with some of the academic universities that I mentioned. Just to give you one example, for UCLA, we are working right now with their environmental, science department to do a computer modeling of Los Angeles River, Bonner Creek, Dominguez Channel, and Santa Monica. So we are in contact as far as data sharing with them in order for them to model and just run. And the modeling basically is going to show us where are the locations we have to have projects, and if we do those projects, are we going to meet the limits? But there are other we have this Southern California, Southern Coastal, research project. We work with them very closely, and Mr. Zaldivar and Mr. Jury, both of them sit on their board. We work closely with USC on the smaller, Green Street issues. We work with Stanford regarding, again, computer modeling for climates. So there are other universities we work for different things than just the bacteria.
And how often do we meet in terms of the stakeholders and the collaborative, if you will?
It depends based on a specific function that we have. Just to give you a specific example, for the Enhanced Watershed Management Plan, we met bi-monthly through a stakeholder process in order for us to create the Enhanced Watershed Management Plan. For Los Angeles River 2040 water, we meet on monthly basis, and there are levels of steering committees, stakeholder input. There are different levels of commitment that we have that we meet. Then we have for the county of LA, we meet on monthly basis also with some of the cities that are in the watershed. So there are lots of meetings that is taking place at different levels based on the need.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Shram, just one question for you on this item before we move to the next, for me anyway. So there's certainly increased interest now in the river as a recreational, really treasure in the region. I have interest because of my own experience of river revitalization in other cities that I'm familiar with, and what that can be for an economic driver for the region too. But regarding the recreational side and the water quality side, what's next for for the Bureau and the Department of Public Works and the city and our partners regarding the water quality issue, looking towards the enhancement of the recreational opportunities?
So on two dimension, Commissioner Repeni mentioned that the enhanced watershed management plan, as we get more funding, of course, we are going to be implementing more projects. And as you also mentioned that the Los Angeles River revitalization is going to be also, is the plan that we have, an arbor study for us to improve not only water quality, also the ecosystem. So those are the two big ticket things that are coming down, down the line.
Okay. Thank you, Shram. Thank you, Mr. Zaldivar. Adele, on an update on the news of earlier in the week, sir. Thank you. Adele H. Khalil.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Honorable Commissioners, Bureau Executives. Adele Hashwil, Assistant General Manager for Sanitation. We did a quick presentation. We're not going to go through it, but I want to have this for your record so you can see the magnitude of what we did, what happened.
Okay.
Monday afternoon, July 18th, a 5-foot sewer pipe collapsed around 6th Street and Mission in the Boyle Heights area. Debris fell into the sewer pipe, clogging the line and causing a backup or a sewage overflow in the vicinity of that collapse. We estimate about 2.5 million gallons escaped the system. We captured nearly 1 million gallons, about 900,000 gallons of sewage was captured through our efforts. Crews from sanitation, engineering, Bureau of Contract Administration, our contractors mobilized immediately, worked around the clock tirelessly to contain the spill and restore the flow in the sewer. We were able to stop the flow a few times during the night and were able to completely stop the overflow on Tuesday, July 19th at 1:50 p.m. What we've done while we're trying to minimize the impact and contain the spill, we had temporary bypassing pumps everywhere. We had about 7 pumps running and capturing flow, bypassing to the sewer system, running hoses about 1,000 feet to put that. We went into upstream in the sewer system to divert sewers away from the area into another system. That was done through our modeling, our efforts, and we had people doing that. Our crews were sandbagging, capturing, diverting the sewage into the sewer system. We had over 200 workers, 250 workers at one time working with tankers, over 50 tankers, vacuuming the sewage and addressing the issues and containing it. And really, it's just no resource was spared in our response because this is really hits us in the heart. This is what we're all about. It's about protecting the public health and the environment. Immediately, we, working with the emergency contractor and the Bureau of Engineering and Contract Administration, we had an emergency contractor who mobilized pipes, high-density polyethylene pipes, plastic pipes, and we were fusing all night these pipes together. 18-inch pipes, huge pipes that were were fused and put together. In less than 24 hours, we built a redundant system to bypass that sewers. That system would have taken over 2 weeks to do. It was done in less than 24 hours. That's the commitment that you had, and what's the commitment that we put in place. The bypass is already in place, it's working, it's protecting the system, protecting the city, and protecting the neighborhoods. And that's in place, will stay in place until we conduct the repairs in that area. Cleanup, immediately. The minute the overflow stopped, our crews were out in the streets, in the community, cleaning and sanitizing sidewalks, streets, removing debris, and returning the streets to what it was and better, to make sure that our children, our community have a safe streets to have. And that's something continued all night, all day. We keep cleaning it, ensuring that it's safe. In the meantime, we have crews down in the LA River, in the storm drains, washing the drains, cleaning the drains, capturing a huge amount of efforts being done across the effort. And I think there's pictures. Let me show you some pictures. This is a picture of the collapse, what happened. Next one. This is the bypass pumping that's occurring and the response. Next one. This is the bypass pump that was built in less than 24 hours. Next one. This is just a quick picture of, in the LA River, you have a dam being built, bypass pumps being pumped back into sewer. People working until 4 o'clock in the morning this morning, pumping and cleaning the system to ensure that everything is back to normal. The streets, sidewalks, everything was cleaned, and the boundaries were done is in that vicinity in Boyle Heights. The cause of the break, at this point, we're still looking into it and investigating what happened. It's an old sewer, sewer that is built in the 20s. Wasn't scheduled for renewal and repair. It's part of our capital program. We have a systematic renewal assessment of our sewers. We have 6,700 miles of sewers across the city. And I think we've done a good job in managing the system. I think we're one of the model cities across the nation in doing that. But we can't just repair every sewer at the same time. It's all prioritized, assessed. Like every patient, you see the condition, you assess what needs to be done, and you take action. This sewer was in the queue. We built large tunnels under the same system to prevent overflows, to capture the flow and prevent overflows that used to happen in 1998. And these sewers, the old sewers, being picked up at different locations, and the sewer that collapsed was acting as a local sewer for the Boyle Heights and the area, Lincoln Heights and North Atwater area. This pipe, like any other pipe, was in the queue to be done. It's actually in the process of the design until it collapsed. And it's a lot of sections below that have been repaired already and addressed. And this, our assessment was that it's going to have enough time for us to do the design. Apparently, there was a change that caused the collapse. We're looking into what happened, but our commitment is to complete the repair and have it in place. We've done a huge job over the last 15, 16 years, 20 years, I would say, in our infrastructure. We invested over $2 billion over the last 10 years. About $200 million a year.
Said $2 billion in the last 10 years.
Two with a B,
Okay.
$2 billion. $200 million a year. We renewed about 60 miles of sewers a year, renewing 60 miles of sewers a year. That's a record. That's a great thing we're doing. All that has led to reduction in sewer overflows by over 85%, to a record low right now in the city of less than 1.5 spills per 100 miles per year. That's a metric that's used in the nation by EPA and others to measure the performance. A great city is a city that has about 2. We are less than that. We're 1.5. And we've done a great job in managing that, and we're very proud of the efforts we've done through our systematic assessment, televising sewers, investing in the old sewers, and really maintaining and cleaning our sewer system. We have done a great record. But still, what happened here, something that we're going to look into. We're going to evaluate, and we're going to look at what can be done different, as we've done always. We're always looking for things to improve on how we do this, because one drop of sewage is too many, too much. And we're going to take care of it, and we're going to do everything we can. We have proud people that jumped in and took care of this right away. I'll tell you, I was present there for almost 24 hours or more. I know, thank you for some of the commissioners that came and joined us, and all of you, I think, were with us, whether in person or in spirit. The community was there also with us. But I saw people tying themselves up to backhoes, to I-beams, so they don't get washed down as they're trying to stop the overflow, trying to restore the flow in the sewer. Everything. They're putting their life at risk to make that happen, because we take that seriously. It's part of what we do. It's in our DNA. The public, I want to thank the community in Boyle Heights. They were so gracious to us. They were so understanding. We love them for what they did. People were coming to us with water. to give us water while we're working hard. So I want to thank the businesses next door that brought water to our workers. The community were asking if we need anything from them. So thank you to the community of Boyle Heights and the neighbors in the area for what they've done. We've done a great job in performing a proactive renewal of our system. We're doing that. We continue to do that. And we're very proud of the investment that we've made with the help of the public. The public, 10 years ago, in 2000, I would say about 6 years ago or so, trusted us with increasing the sewer rates to invest more. And we have done a great job in doing this. And the response we've made in the spill that happened on Monday, the overflow, it could have been worse if we have not reacted that way. I have people calling us today from other agencies wanting to come and visit to learn about the response that we've made. So we're very, but I still think it's something that we'll continue to look into and see what we need to do. We will affirm to everyone our commitment to continue to invest in this infrastructure in a systematic and proactive way so we continue to protect the public health and the environment that we're entrusted in. I'm proud of the workers. I want to thank them publicly. I know all of you feel the great work that they've done. I want to thank our partners in every department, the community, the contractors. This is a family that came together in a crisis. We're able to respond and mitigate and minimize the impact. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Haj Khalil. Commissioner Repenning.
Thanks, Adele. And I am not going to focus too much on our response. I did have the benefit of being out there the day after it happened during the repairs, and I am fairly confident that our response was as robust as it could have been. What I would be interested in having you talk more about is really our system of how we're assessing our sewer infrastructure, and you talked a little bit about, having timelines for when different areas need to be improved. So if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Sure.
I don't know I know that we use all sorts of different
Sure.
pipes. I don't know what the average sort of
Sure.
shelf life of a pipe is, and how we're doing on trying to meet that timetable.
Great point. I would say not every old sewer have to be replaced. It's like I had a discussion with somebody about it not long ago, and I said it's the same thing. Does every 50-year-old have to go and have an open heart surgery? No. Does every 90-year-old have to do it? No. It's just you have to assess the condition, what needs to be done. And the same thing, we have a systematic way. We have a smart way of analyzing what needs to be done and how we prioritize our investment. The city has about 210 sewer sheds areas in the city. And there's factors that we look into. One is age of the sewer is a factor. The maintenance history, how frequently we're looking at it. The overflows and the breaks and the debris we're seeing. And the materials of the pipes and what we're looking at. All that is looked at, and we go ahead and prioritize that based on the ones that have the potential of the largest potential failure and largest impact. Then we go in and do an assessment, both hydraulic, through monitoring, modeling, and structural, through televising, and putting cameras through sewers to find the condition. And based on the condition, it's ranked, and that's basically what tells us how quickly. Sewers are ranked A, B, C, D, and F, and that's basically the action that's done. Based on that, we will prioritize and put it in our capital program, and we will budget through. If it's an emergency, immediately take an action, we'll move on it right away. And there's some of them that will go through a process. So it's very systematic, very structured, a smart way using a technology and data to manage what we need to do. And that's how it's done, and the capital program reflects that.
Okay. I am looking at this slide that details the reduction in incidents of sanitary sewer overflows since the year 2000. And I see that it looks like we've significantly reduced the number of those occurrences. However, as you said, one is too many. And so we're looking at 100 from last year, roughly. How do we get that even further down? What can we support? What can we be doing to help you continue that progress?
multiple things that it's a number of things that we have to do. For example, a lot of increase in overflows recently was because of the drought. Trees will go after water, they'll go after roots, roots will go into the sewers and cause a problem. So we've seen increase on the root issue for a while. So we're working through a chemical root application. There's intrusive trees that should not be planted. Ficus is not good for sewers. That's something we're working through. Grease control. Grease is not good for sewer blockage, all that stuff. So we've been working very hard since, I believe, the early 2002. We have ordinance in place to really control how grease is put in place. Everything you put down your drain could be an issue. Any contractor that is thinking about dumping a concrete should not be dumping concrete through a maintenance hole next to the construction site. That will block a sewer and cause a problem. But it's a systematic way. All of us need to look at this, is that we're all going through a process of identifying which sewers and when and put it in schedule. It cannot be done all at once. So it's a systematic way. Every person can help from the home. If you don't flush anything down the toilet, that should not be in the toilet. That can cause a problem. If you see anything, please let us know. If you see a street that's moving differently or looking differently, call 311, call us, call our hotline. Anything that can help us with, we will respond and address. But we have cameras, we televise sewers, and a lot of people don't know what we do in the magnitude. We have cameras running in the sewers, televising, assessing, measuring what's happening, and looking what needs to be done. I think we have a good system in place. It's very structured, but we'll review the prioritization based on what happened here. And like anything else, we will learn from it and become better.
One final question, because you mentioned Boyle Heights, the community. What were the steps that we took after the repair was done to ensure that we left the neighborhood in best possible condition?
We immediately after the spill stopped on Tuesday, we had crews, all the streets in Boyle Heights, washing, sanitizing sidewalks, streets, capturing it, cleaning it up. So everything was cleaned. Nothing is by that night, I think everything was clean. We had our public affairs officer and our partners in the different bureaus were out there at every business, every home, knock on the door, giving them a flyer to say, is there something we can do for you? Call us if you have a question. This happened, letting you know. But if you have a concern, call us. So that happened right away, immediately. We had people knocking on doors, letting people know. I think we did everything. And, I want to thank them for their understanding and their generosity for accepting us there and then offering to help us and give us something. I know, when somebody comes with a box of water, it means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. Commissioner Davis.
Oh, I wanted to ask, well, first I wanted to say that there is no question about the ability of our team here in Bureau of Sanitation to be able to respond to problems that occur. You do it day in and day out, and we trust and know that you will continue to do it. The system in Los Angeles, I've been told, I guess, was really developed in the 20s. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think that the main lines that we have in various communities from the 20s are probably a part of those that you have rehabilitated over time, and yet there still is some of which we've not been able to rehabilitate as of yet. Is there a plan in terms of when we will target to progress and continue the accomplishment of refurbishing those other 19, 20 so lines, notwithstanding the fact that you do have technology, cameras that will tell you meanwhile? But I guess my question is more around administratively our plan to continue to go and implement that and where we are in that.
The plan is to continue. We're not stopping the investment in the renewal. It's prioritizing what needs to be done and how soon. We will go after every sewer. Every sewer will be assessed and renewed at some point. It's just a priority of where and what's the condition. This sewer was in the queue to be done, and it just something occurred that kind of accelerated its failure. We'll look at what happened, but really, everything was in the queue, and we'll continue looking at it. I want to assure the public that we've done a great job in managing and controlling this. And the days when we used to have overflows everywhere, every time it rained, is no longer there. I mean, I remember in South LA, 1998, we had overflows and every time it rained, and we built a huge infrastructure. The East Central Interceptor Sewer at a cost of $300–400 million. The Northeast Interceptor Sewer was built, tunnels underground, huge sewers were built to protect the public. We're doing that. Sewers, small sewers are being repaired, large sewers are being repaired. All is being done. I think we're a model of what needs to be done. But as I said, and the Commissioner Penning said, and I know Commissioner Davis, you know that, when you have a failure like this, it hits us hard in the heart. And we know what we're doing. It just, 1 gallon, 1 drop is too many. And we will take care of it, and we'll take care of it. So, yeah, we have a commitment. We have a plan. We'll continue. And if there's anything that we think we need, we'll come back to you. We'll ask you. If we need some support, we'll come back. At this point, we have a system that I think is working. We'll review it, and we'll decide if there's anything else that we need to do more.
We have adequate resources in terms of budget and funding?
On the sewer system, yes. At this point, with the help of the public, the council, the mayor, the community at large, we got the support to have a 10-year sewer rate increase that supported us, and that put in place, I think, 6 years, 7 years ago. And that was able to allow us to invest what we needed to do, because for a while we did not invest what we needed to invest. But we've been doing a good job, and I think that reflects in the results that you show before you. This incident that happened should not judge the performance that we've had over the last 10 to 20 years. We have done a good job, and this is an anomaly, I believe, and we'll look at it and review it and see what happened.
Have we ever had to use deferred maintenance as a tool in terms of implementation of repairs?
Deferred maintenance, our maintenance, I think we've done a good, you cannot maintain a pipe because it's failing. You can maintain it, but one of the things that we look at is how often we have to go to the same pipe over and over again. And that's an indicator that we look at. If we have to go back and maintain a sewer every 2 months, there's something going on here that you need to look at. And that's what we look at. So all these things are in the factors, and we look at the condition. But we are investing in the maintenance. It's not being deferred. We're doing a good job. And I'll tell you, with the recent ability to hire more staff recently, with the recovery that we've had in the city, we're putting more people, workers, to do the work that we need to do. And that's something I'm proud. I want to thank you and the council and the mayor for allowing us to fill in the vacancies and the positions that we need to do to be able to do that. But I think we have the resources for the capital investment. Our staffing now is better than what we had during the recession, but that's helping us to address this. But we will continue reviewing it using data.
Can you prepare for the board a update in terms of our strategic plan for implementation of repairs, particularly as it relates to the pipes that were built in the 20s? I know that we are progressively moving in that direction. In terms of the update of the plan so that we can better become aware of how you move forward with it. For example, we are now in East LA and we're going to do 3 or 4 pipes this quarter in that area, or I'm just giving you some examples of perhaps in terms of increasing the awareness of all of us. I have no doubt, as I've said, that our staff is capable of going out and expediting remedy. And we do that well, and we will continue to do that. So I don't want you to think that we think for 1 minute that our staff is not going to do a good job. What I'm interested in is all of us having the knowledge in terms of the implementation of repairs to the 1920s original infrastructure of mainline sewers in Los Angeles in terms of how we are progressing towards that. And I know it's more than a notion. But I think it will be helpful for those of us who are not experts.
And we would love to schedule a workshop through your board to do that. But one thing I would just want to echo is sometimes I would say, for example, in that sewer that failed, before we were able to go in and rehab that sewer or renew it, the flow before used to be a lot of flow in that pipe. So we had to build a tunnel first to remove a lot of the flow away from it. So it is a systematic way of doing things, but we'll be happy to come to the board or get out to the community and let them know what we're doing. But we'll start with the board and getting a workshop through here to go through the process, our strategic plan for renewing our system, what we're doing and how we're addressing it. So we'd love to come in. Hopefully soon we'll work with the board to schedule that.
So I think it's somewhat like going to the dentist, you know, and getting the checkup. And so as we go in and get the cleaning, we don't know when a tooth is going to go bad any more than you knew when the pipe was going to bust, because if you knew it, you would have been out there before time. So we don't blame the department for the pipes busting, but I think that increasing awareness for all stakeholders, including the board, about the implementation of what is invariably a very old system from the 1920s. I mean, it is what it is. But I think what we can do is we can increase knowledge and awareness about the system so that we can feel the same urgency that you feel, those who are on the front line doing the work. And I think we need to feel the same urgency. And the only way we do that is to increase the knowledge through your informing us about our implementation of having to address this old infrastructure from the 1920s, very sophisticated, and could be a model for the country in terms of a sewer system that needs to be or is being effectively managed in such a large city. But again, I think that there has to be a closing of the gap between the policymakers and those of you who are actually leaders who are doing the work. And so I appreciate your willingness to do that, and I think that it will help all of us to engage in the urgency.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Rodriguez?
Hi, thank you. Adele, I just want to say, I know these numbers are really telling in terms of the progress that we've seen, and while this has been an incredibly unfortunate incident, and we're always concerned when we see them, I want to thank the collaborative effort that took place to all of our bureaus and Bureau Engineering as well, because it really does take that level of collaboration to have such a swift response given the circumstances that we were faced with. And so as difficult of a situation that these are, I do know that as a city we've made a tremendous amount of progress towards the end of meeting the improvements that we need to make in our infrastructure. And it is complicated by having a very severely old system. And I think one of our first visits upon our appointment to the board was to one of the sewer lines that were being repaired in and replaced in South Los Angeles, and it's complicated by a lot of other infrastructure that is laid above it and around it, so it's difficult to navigate, and it's exceedingly complicated when you guys are doing this work. But as difficult of a situation that it is, I just wanted to thank the Bureau and thank our the other members of the board and of the department for their work into just taking swift action and responding in the way that you did.
Thank you, Commissioner Rodriguez. And Adele, I would, in closing, thank you for your report. I would just add, having been out there with you all day, Tuesday I think was the day that we did the press announcement. And I was really, given the size of the circumstance and the scope of the problem, I was very impressed with the response and containment and the move to do the work of the bypass. Just to see it, to see the amount of coordination it took. So a thank you, as you mentioned and Commissioner Rodriguez mentioned and Commissioner Repenning, to the Bureau of Engineering, to the Bureau of Contract Administration, the contractors working with the city crews, our Public Affairs Office, the Mayor's Communications Office. The response came together remarkably fast. And the information that was provided to the community, yes, I'm glad you mentioned the response from the community, their willingness to be a partner in solving the problem, but also we have, and I've heard you say it before, and I do just want to put an exclamation point on it, this is too a learning opportunity for us as we move forward in our work with the Los Angeles River and our work with the neighboring communities that were affected, and the regulatory agencies that you all were in regular contact with as a result of the incident that occurred on Monday afternoon. So it's no doubt I see exactly why other municipalities and governmental agencies are contacting us for a study on the response and containment to better improve that circumstance for them when they see it. So more to come. I know that there's more work to be done. All of that led into I spent so much time setting that up just now that I remembered that I do have a question. Just to confirm, and you may have already answered it when you responded to Commissioner Repenning, but regarding the cleanup, is the cleanup now complete from the incident that occurred on Monday, as far as the immediate area of the spill and the community is concerned?
Yeah, the cleanup in the vicinity for the community, the streets, sidewalks, storm drains, all have been cleaned and completed. We are now pursuing further inspection and cleanup downstream in the system in the LA River area. But that's something that was being worked on as late as was, at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got an update of what they were doing and what they were at. So, but for the community, yes, your answer is everything has been completed. And we will do additional checks again. As we're doing the repairs, we'll make sure that everything is still in perfect condition.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the oral report. It will be received.
Thank you.
Let's go back, colleagues. We were on agenda item number 7 regarding the above-ground facility in Council District 12. Mr. Ledoux, I had asked you to work with the property owner and AT&T, the applicant, during the time that we just had that oral report regarding any of the other possibilities within the parameters of the available application. Are there any alternatives that can be worked out?
No. There is no place that it can be put east of that tree that would remain on the property where it's proposed right now. The only, like I said, alternative that the appellants are willing to go with is on the property next to them at 6727 North Sausalito, and AT&T is not willing to go there, as that would kill this application and they'd have to start over again.
Okay, well, I'm happy to hear my colleagues' thoughts, but based upon what I've heard, Mr. Ledoux, I feel like we have exhausted the opportunity for a revision beyond what was discussed already in the first meeting that occurred on this for the application. And that said, that's the recommendation that I would support. Commissioner Cinto, I don't know if where you are on this as well.
That remains my recommendation, colleagues. I think that the process by which the hearing and the staff due diligence and the applicant working together to try to find a solution is primary, and that's what we want to do. And we absolutely appreciate the civic engagement that people have to do regards to their homes and their property. I think our due diligence as a board is to maintain and uphold and pursue the ordinance.
Is the board report, Mr. Ledoux, accurate on what the proposed placement of the above-ground facility is that AT&T seeks at this time? Are we clear on where it's going to be, and the property owner is notified of that?
Yes.
All right. Anything further, colleagues, on this? Commissioner Cinto, is that a motion? I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, that's what the order will be. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Well, we can do that for months. Ma'am, I'm sorry that we weren't able to solve any of the other the issues regarding the tree and the storm drain, but I appreciate the effort of the Bureau and yourself and in all this work. The infrastructure that's being built is important. AT&T for going through this process with us. And so, Mr. Ledoux, that and Ms. Agrios, that's the order of the board on this item. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, but I still think if there's a hazard to my property, what do I do, sir?
Well, if you have, I would ask the Bureau what you would be able to do next. It's not something we're going to have in this hearing.
Problem on the property because it's so close to my gate. What do I do?
That what you contact the city attorney's office, or you could contact the Bureau of Engineering.
Because next door, the reason I was recommending next door.
I understand, ma'am, but that's right. So you can contact the Bureau of Engineering or the city attorney's office. Okay. Thank you. Agenda item number 1 at 12:58. Council District 15, recommending that the board delegate signature authority to the city engineer to execute the memorandum of understanding between the Department of Public Works, the Bureau of Engineering, and the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles for accepting up to $440,000 for costs associated with the completion of the Century Boulevard Extension Design Project as part of the redevelopment of the Jordan Downs public housing community. Agenda item number 1. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 1.
Well, I'm going to give Mr. B a break. But you all know that in most areas where the poverty pimps rule against the public, people African American are discriminated in their areas constantly, abusively, targeted. Not that anyone here is going to step in and intervene, let alone maybe Mr. Davis. Because I know Mr. Davis sides on the side of the people. Because Mr. Davis is an honorable man who looks in the interests of all African Americans, or the color of my skin, dark red. So when targeting a minority community without the transparencies, the information to inform them of what's taking place in their community, it would be in great interest of this commission to advise the community in a report into the maybe possibility of the newspaper called the LA Times, that what's taking place in their community, informing them the way I inform people, the way Wayne Spindler informs people, the way we take charge of this commission and advise you how to put people first, human beings first. And if I'm off topic, you lollygag for a whole hour over this shit coming out of the pipes. What about the shit in the neighborhoods of our African American neighbors? That's more important to me. Hearing them come up here and speak about Black lives that matter. All lives matter. From Asian Americans to the Hispanic Americans. Trump, 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 Trump. Trump will Trump. Herman will Trump. And once again, for public record, Trump,
Thank
Trump,
you, Mr. Herman.
Trump.
Agenda item number 1, Mr. Mungra.
Good afternoon. My name is Ramnik Mangra with Bureau of Engineering Street Program. Century Boulevard extension, which is part of the Jordan Downs specific plan, will extend Century Boulevard from Grape Street to Alameda Street. Bureau of Engineering in charge of delivering this project, the design. The original scope budgeted $1 million for design, and thereafter there has been some changes. Part of the value engineering. Also, we had a Caltrans environmental review that was required, and there are other redesign due to actual vertical development that is going on right now. And so, since this agreement, there has been more changes. So I'll be coming back again and asking for maybe a little bit more money. But at this point, the agreement was to authorize city engineers to accept $440,000 for this part of this MOU.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Mungra on agenda item number 1? I don't have any questions. Commissioner Rodriguez has made a motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Cinto. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 8 is our next item that has not yet been heard or otherwise disposed. Office of Accounting, Bureau of Sanitation, recommending that the board forward the report to the Collections Board of Review and request that the Collections Board of Review authorize the Director of the Bureau of Sanitation and the Director of the Office of Accounting to administratively remove from their account receivables and other city records the delinquent industrial wastewater fee balances that are less than $5,000, older than 3 years in age, and owed by industrial users with inactive industrial wastewater permits as listed in the attached transmittal. The total is $29,778.84. Mr. Herman, you have a card on agenda item number 8.
Recommendation for the board for the forward of this report. We're talking about less than $5,000 for industrial wastewater fee balances. But why should we pay for balances of fees when the infrastructure of pipes built in the 1920s still exists in Los Angeles? Where are the upgrades? Where is the standard to meet the criteria of what's happening in Los Angeles as it corrodes away, or as I put it, erodes away? You can't keep up with infrastructure if you keep denying the public the services, the programs, due to programmatic access for services. Because it impacts us, not only just in the element of what happens after you have to repair it, but how it slows down our economic growth in our community until you get the shit cleaned up. So my option on this motion is to say to the Director of Bureau of Sanitation and the Director of the Office of Accounting and Administration, as he put it here, to remove. No, I say to you, stop lobbying for grants, stop lobbying for bonds, and do the work that you promised as you lobbied for those grants and bonds under the infrastructure contracts for the people. We the people, the citizens of Los Angeles, the stakeholders, the shareholders, and those of us assholes that work here, Herb Wesson Jr., as you called us. Get your shit together, City Hall. Clean up your own house before you try to clean up my own backyard, jackass.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Sonny Berberabi?
Berberabi.
Berberabi. I got close. It's 1 o'clock. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. President, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, good afternoon. I'm here to request that the board forward this report to the Collections Board of Review to authorize the Office of Accounting and Bureau of Sanitation to remove these delinquent accounts in our books to make sure that it doesn't show these accounts are still available for collection. These accounts have been referred to two collection agencies, and both collection agencies have determined that these accounts are uncollectible. So the total amount is $29,778.84.
Any questions? Commissioner Rodriguez has made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 8. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8. Any issues sending it forthwith?
Thank you.
We'll send number 8 forthwith. Thank you, Sonny, for your patience. Agenda item number 9. The mayor has approved and authorized the board to execute a personal services contract with CR&R Incorporated for the receipt, processing, and reuse of green material, food material, and/or horse manure, hereby collectively referred to as green waste, from the City of Los Angeles' curbside collection program. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 9.
know Mr. Herman's turning it over to the puppet because you all know that the mayor has approved of such incorporated receipts promising the processing and refuge of green materials. Incidentally, however, when I go pick up materials to dig into my yard or help my neighbors plant green gardens, it's impossible. It's totally impossible because of material food or food material and horse manure. See, I need these resources of manure so that I could put the shit in my yard so it can smell good. I'm just a little bear, a cute little bear, right, Miss Penny? How about you, Miss Monica? You came in a little late, 2 hours later, but yeah, I'm very cute. See, the puppet pulled the strings and the puppets do the talking around here, Mr. Davis. That's why Mr. Spindler couldn't be here. He can't find work. Mr. Spindler's a good advocate, advocating for green things like me, the little bear, Dr. Bear. I waived my remaining balance of time so not to waste anyone else's attributions to the comments made on these subjects. Thank you, and I applaud.
Colleagues, on agenda item number 9, this is an item that was heard in May of 2016. It's being returned by the mayor's office for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 9 forthwith by Commissioners Rodriguez and Davis? Any objection? Then we will do so, and that was forthwith as well, Mr. Campos. Agenda item number 10, the mayor and city council have approved and authorized to execute the execution of the 9th amended joint powers agreement in connection with the Southern California Coastal Water Research Project Authority. On number 10, Mr. Herman, you've got a card that says Dr. B on number 10.
Well, I'm back. I'm back speaking like a kid again because I, Dr. B, Mr. B for the record, have brought to your attention certain amendments like the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment and the right of the Fifth Amendment to keep our mouths shut when we're talking about people in our community. But here we're talking about the California Coastal Water Research Project, which the authority of this certain coastal commission has forgotten about the landslide in Malibu, talked about by Miss Leah, LIA. She says there are water lines busted and contaminating the soil so that the hill will come down one day and smash Pacific Coast Highway and destroy the culture of Malibu. For the record, please ask the coastal planning and the Department of not disability, idiots. I'm talking about the goddamn people from building and safety. Mansionizations, that's the problem with the coast. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody cares to listen what's going on in this community. But Leah is a strong advocate.
Time, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Agenda item number 10, this is the Joint Powers Authority being sent back for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt number 10 forthwith by Commissioners Rodriguez and Davis? Any objection? With that objection, we will do so. Mr. Campos, other than the public comment period, have we cleared the desk?
Public comment and also the neighborhood council commentary period.
I cleared
We'd
it,
like to close
but we
that.
can clear it again. So no cards on the neighborhood council, so that will be closed as well. On general public comment, Mr. Spindler has a card on general public comment. Mr. Spindler on general public comment. Teodoro Ailman on general public comment. Teodoro Ailman on general public comment. Paul Ailman on general public comment. Paul Ailman on general public comment. Mr. Herman, you have a card that you put in on general public comment.
Now that Mr. B is recovering, I'd like to advise you of the advocating concern that bothers me the most, that of crime, sabotage, violence, unlawful methods by prosecutor Hugo Rossiter Rossitter, who works with the division of the Los Angeles Police Department known as the TRO, Temporary Restraining Order, and the TMU's Threat Management Unit, who acquires this poor policy of taking people from advocating in public meetings to the point of incarceration, to the point of intimidation, to the point of retaliation, as brought to you by Michael Hunt versus the City of Los Angeles because of Mr. O'Farrell's bitch, bitch, bitch comment. So now that I have your attention, Mr. Hugo, I recall now back in 2008 when you fucked with me, jerk, doing your double process of business, DBA. What kind of threat management do you really have? Do you really have a real license to conduct business in Beverly Hills as well as in Los Angeles? That's a question the public must ask and investigate. What the fuck is a prosecutor doing fucking with people's lives and having more than one business and not reflecting where the fuck he's doing with it? Such as he's doing it to our lives. 5150, as he's doing it to our lives. 422A PC. And as Brandenburg versus Ohio stated, and I'll bring it to the record, we intend to do our part. Give us our state rights. Freedom for the what? White. No. Freedom for the who? White. No. Freedom from those like that white nigger. You, Mr. Hugo, white nigger, will have to fight for every inch to get what we need back.
So, Mr. Campos, have we now cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your stamina today, everybody.